it says end broadcast now instead of go live, so it should be good, maybe?
Yep, up on the top left, you can see it says live in the little window that we're in.
Nope, sure enough. Okay. Couple of seconds. Let me. Okay. Oh, yeah. Well, there it is. Okay, great. I'm gonna turn my sound on. Okay. Good. All right. So I have a couple of places for things to be now. I have Twitch up on one screen and this up on the other, and it is December of 2022. 2020, the revenge of 2021. It's everything is just the revenge of now. I'm hoping 2023 is not the revenge of 2022, but
It probably will be. Let's be completely honest.
that's the sad part. I'm trying not to think about it honestly. The fact that it's all going to go horribly, horribly wrong.
Undoubtedly. It gets worse every year, somehow, but
Ah,
also better at the same time.
I count myself rich in friends and unfortunately sometimes rich in disasters as well. Yes, this is our Christmas gift to everyone who shows up. You just get to see us. We're actually going to turn off the mic shortly and just stare at the screens for a while.
Seems right.
I mean, I figured that's what everybody wanted, just to be able to see us but not hear us.
Just stare at each
Okay,
other all day.
frankly,
It's very
I
boring.
should probably mute myself. Andy talking is fine. People are used to that.
Nah, nah.
I mean, most of you have heard her voice go through many different things. I should have had you prep some voices just so people who've never seen you when you record the voices could
Well,
also
it's not
see
that
you.
hard to do. It's just a question of making it happen when I need it to sound like that. Hi, everyone.
And that's when the shadows swallow you whole, and not in the fun way.
It's not a question of when or if, but when.
Elsa.
If I want it to be Elsa, it depends on if you want the Elsa now, which is more proper, or if you want Elsa from before, which is more like bouncy and little flower girl.
As long as we don't have the Queen of all darkness, that's fine.
No, we won't. Her name shall not be spoken.
The name that shall not be spoken.
It's too risky.
The secret overlord that we try not to mention. Goodness only knows what she's gotten up to since the responsible adults fucked off to another city.
Seriously. And she's been granted the most dangerous crown of all of them, so I'm sure that was a solid choice.
Yeah, well, if you're gonna watch the world implode, you might as well do it in style.
Easy question right there at the bottom that I can answer fast. Yeah, how much you use electronics to adjust your voice when you record, or do you do all of them yourself? 99.9% of them are me. There's like the very rare occasion where I'll have like a word from a demon or something that just it needs to be a tiny bit deeper, so I'll drop it like a semitone, but I can count on one hand how many times that's happened. Most of the time, I'm not skilled in that kind of like post-production manipulation, so for if I were to do that, it would sound very fake. So I don't know how to properly do those things, so I can't basically.
Do your proofers know how to do those things?
No.
See, if you
That's
had
a
a
very
proofer who
separate
knew how
branch.
to, I'm about to say if you had a proofer who knew how to do that though, then you'd be able to easily tag them out and be like, hey, when you get to this part when you're cleaning things up, can you drop that like 12 octaves? This way it just shakes the car when people are driving.
Right.
The hell was that? Oh, that must have been the demon. That was powerful.
Right. It's a slippery slope too, because once you do it once, like you have to
Yeah.
keep doing it for every time you do that voice, and it just gets
Mhm.
to be a mess. It takes a really long time. It's easier to just try to pull it off yourself.
Well, I mean, your range is let's be fair. Your range is quite broad.
I have a pretty good range. Like
You
for a
you
female, I have a pretty solid octave range for the voices that I can make.
Andy, you could cut one word out of that, and it's a pronoun. Okay, most of us here have
True.
listened to quite a few narrators. We can say that you have a broad range without having to be
Thank you.
like for a female. Now you can
Thank you.
you can knock that off. I mean, I am not sure how hard is it for you to hit like an average male voice.
It depends. Well, it used to be a lot harder than it is now. Mostly because if you listen to like some of the first books that I did, my voice sense is a couple steps higher than it is now because I spent so many books narrating male leads that eventually my voice just started dropping. So my voice is lower today naturally than it was a few years ago. But now I pretty much just do male voices in my standard vocal range with different pitch inflections, like different inflections and different emphasis on
Mhm.
words. So that's a more solid way to carry it. If it's more gruff or something like that, it's really not that hard. Like
I'm,
that kind of thing's not that hard.
I'm just saying though, because I mean you've done numerous books for me and then countless others from other people, and you have a very good like male lead protagonist
Thank
voice.
you.
It's very solid. If when I've played them for just random people like my mom or my sisters or friends who haven't heard your work, they don't immediately go, "Oh, that's a female narrating this book," which I don't know if that's
That's the
actually a
goal.
compliment. Honestly, I would think it would be, but that's a different thing. Where with most men, if you're like, okay, hit the femme fatale voice here, you can tell it's a man trying to get there.
I remember, so I play VR poker every once in a while. I haven't in quite a while, but I used to play a little bit more than I do now. And one of my most memorable interactions in VR poker on Quest was sitting at a table and there was a guy who just had a mouth on him and he was just bragging. He's one of those dudes that the whole table is about him and everything is bragging about something about his life. And he was bragging about how he was connected to the industry and stuff. And I said something like, I'm not sure what you're talking about, dude. Like, that doesn't seem right." And as soon as I talked, the guy shut up immediately and looked over at my avatar and he was like, "Whoa, your voice. You have like you have a voice, like a voice." And I just kind of chuckled and said, I think, thank you, I think." And he was like, "No, no, no. Like we pay to have voices. Like we hire people with voices like yours. And, if I could get you some connections." And he said, "Well, I don't know what you do now, but you might be really good at that." And I just kind of chuckled and I said, I'm a voice actor." And he goes, "Oh, well then Then you know." And he's like 2 minutes later, he's like, "Well, I just can't get over your voice. It's like a man voice, but sexy."
Well, I mean, he's told us a lot about himself in that one statement.
It's
This
like a
was the
man
assist.
voice, but
This
sexy.
was like the assistant key grip to the assistant to the assistant to the
It was.
assistant
It was like
who was totally trying to sell himself that he had connections for you.
Yeah, and it's midnight his time. He's drunk as all shit the day before his first day at work at 6 AM. So,
That's gonna go over well.
yeah, I'm sure yours are the connections I want, bruh. I'm sure.
Let's see. We had a SB ask, "Do you ever argue with your significant other in some of those voices?"
I never argue. I'll annoy him with them every once in a while, but he probably makes more voices than I do at the house, like just silly stuff. Like he's the voice of our cats and stuff. I just like him doing them more. I do it all day. So I use voices when we role play, when I'm cooking. If I'm talking to myself, that's when I do it a lot. Like I'll narrate Julia Child style while I'm cooking, just because I can.
So it's
Just
dinner
a weird
and a
voice.
show. I don't see a problem with this.
Exactly it. I just entertain myself with it more than anything.
And then somebody else had a question for you, which they've asked me before. Do you have any pet peeves of reading a story? Is there a trope or pet peeve you hate? Mine, of course, is the clueless male protagonist that I have mocked in my own stories.
If I have a pet peeve when reading a story, I'm trying to think of one. I don't really have anything that's like a set thing that's like a pet peeve that I can think of off the top of my head. I'll probably think of one later. Most of the time it's just something that comes up in that moment and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't matter. And I'll just move on. Like it brushes over me so I don't think about it too hard. I can't think of one off the top of my head though. If I think of it, I'll tell you.
There was one person who just wanted to let you know that when their mother first heard you narrating a book, she literally had to ask if it was just one person doing all of the voices.
That's a huge compliment. Thank you.
Man voice but sound sexy is a terrible garage band name. I don't know. I think actually that's an amazing garage band name.
Yeah, right? Sexy man voice. Go on. Well, that's the funny thing, right? Is you have to be able to like pull off the dude's voice in a scene that's intimate or in scene, even if it's not an intimate scene, but it's like not physically intimate, but emotionally intimate. You know, you don't want a really, really, you know, I just everything about you, I just love it so much. And then like, yeah, I really love everything about you too, you know? Like you gotta be convincing in intimate scenes as the dude as well. So you can't just have a sexy girl voice. You have to kind of figure out how to make a guy sound sexy too. And when you are not that gender, you just gotta figure it out basically. So
Isn't that where you just go, "Aw, fuck."
yeah.
Just drop it down to a nice bass. "Aw, fuck. Aw, fuck." As a new author, do you suggest training, learning the craft, how to use active and passive voice syntax, grammar, etc., or just writing more to get more experience doing it? Well, I'm a complete hack. Asking me questions about how to be a writer is a terrible thing to do. I have a tendency to say if you want to be an author, the first thing you have to do is finish the damn book, because that is that's where most people fail. They never actually finish a story. If you want to be an author, write the story, finish the story. You can always go back and clean it up afterwards, but you need to have finished it. Now, after you finished it, you need to not sit on it for over a year, like I did with Last Horizon Beta, trying to make things better, but you do need to finish it first. I continue to improve every book. My editors help me with this. But even back from Last Horizon Beta to Alpha World 1, Gamer for Life, I mean, that's the difference of 3 books. Last Horizon's Beta Live and then Alpha World 1. And there's a world of difference between those just because you improve as you continue. Like most things, practice, practice, practice. Now, you can go the other route where you actually, like take classes and learn to do things, the way society, I guess, wants you to, because apparently being self-taught in things is not what you're supposed to do anymore. But I suggest just write, finish the book, go back and polish it up, get a couple of friends to help you go over it and try to find the errors, and then throw it out into the wilds and see what happens. That's what I did. However, I'm an idiot. You probably shouldn't listen to me. My mother's first experience with Andy's voice was Nikki from Remnant. Well, way to throw her off into the deep end, Shank.
Dude.
Was that before or after her horns were being gripped by Steve? I'm just curious.
I have I just thought of one of the like weird pet peeve that I have. Really, really, really hyper, and this is like a really good writing technique when you're writing the book. Like if it's for written word, it's a really great technique that's super descriptive. If it is for audio, for me, it is so difficult to handle. Really, really descriptive, like vocal descriptions, like where he had a voice that was as deep as the thunderous mountains themselves, and his mere essence of whisper shook those stones to the ground, yada yada yada. Like the super hyper descriptive vocal tags, those are tough. Sometimes they conflict, sometimes they don't. It makes it hard to track how to say what you're supposed to say. And no matter how hard I try, I can't make that voice. Like I can't make my voice that deep, that broad, that stone crumbling. Yeah, no, I'm used to it at this point, guys. I just expect it.
I do want to point out, just because I had a fan actually make this and
Ooh, that's
send it to me.
beautiful.
It's a little steampunk type pen.
That's gorgeous.
So it was a nice little gift from a fan. So it now resides on my desk, so I can mark my calendar with it. Because I always have a pen on my desk to write things down, like how to write ultra descriptive things for voices. This way, when I say sounds like musical notes coming out of a flute, Andy can be like, yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, I'm so used to it at this point. In case if anybody in here isn't in Discord, Daniel's in my Discord while I'm recording, like probably 90% of the time on his books. So it's
I
a
try.
he already knows. Like I'm so used to him hearing me bitch about something and then go, I'm gonna definitely put that in 7 more times in the next book, just so you know. Also, there will be 5 characters named Ryan, 7 characters named Todd, and then 4 named
Well,
Aaron. Just so you
I
know.
would like to, but my editors keep stopping that from happening now. They're like, we need a name change. And I'm like, why? This is the 3rd Ryan. I'm like, it's a common name. What? It's a living world. You can't just butcher Ryan's name and make him a Bill all of a sudden.
The one that gets me is Ryan, because one of the common questions that people ask is like, well, was it supposed to be Ryan and then Ryan? And I'm like, bitch, Ryan was Ryan before Ryan was Ryan. Okay. Ryan was Ryan all along. That's a different book. Ryan was there first. TJ was in there when she got named. Okay. They're both just Ryan. It wasn't
Okay.
me.
To be fair, she asked me, and I said, well, it's Celtic thing. It would probably be just flat Ryan, because Ryan is more of an English way to pronounce the name. I did not think about that when I decided to give Watercolor a first name. And then later be like, I'm gonna totally make them all use their first names and things. And it was after, I think, the very first time Andy came to Ryan,
It was
just
at the
to
Oaken
help
Glen.
separate it, just to help separate Ryan and Ryan, both in the same sentence. And she's like,
they were at the
"Fucking
Oaken
Daniel."
Glen. Yeah. They were all
So
there talking. Aw, thank you,
yeah,
Xerox. Thank you, thank
yeah,
you.
just So my editors, ever since that point, my editors have gone out of their way to help Andy
Me too.
to
They
make
kill
sure I
Unison
don't
too.
have. Oh, and in unison, yes, those two things. They've heard Andy complain, and they're like, "We're stopping you." And I'm like, "Creative license, you can't take away my." Okay, fine, we'll name him a Bill.
They're
They
working with
said
me.
together instead of in unison, so she can stagger it if she wants to. Just take all the joy out of my life.
Yes. Ven and Ven.
Well, that was intentional.
Yeah, those are the
Because
fairies are just like that. Yeah.
because they're that way. I also just can't help myself when it comes to twins.
Lona and Mona, Quinn
Lona
and
and Mona.
Phila.
I just think if you have kids who are twins, you should kind of like go with it.
Wasn't it Ernest and Eugene Carmody?
Yes, Ernest and Eugene Carmody. Which, by the way, the inside joke for those who never got it, they were Ernest and Eugene Michael Carmody. They are both EMC. They were twins, so it was EMC squared. Just my inside joke for myself for the Carmody brothers that they were EMC squared.
You need to be stopped. You know that?
You can't
Someone
stop
needs to
me.
Stop you.
Actually, you are like one of the few people who can't stop me. I'm sorry. I've read the book. Too much cringe. I can't do it.
You can't do it anymore. I'm so sorry.
That would hurt me so
It was
much.
one too many puns. It was one too many puns.
DJ, what book are you working on now? I have been working through Dungeon Walkers 4, the last book of the Dungeon Walker series. Sales have fallen off enough that I actually have to set it down because I will make a loss with Dungeon Walkers 4. So I'm going to give a nice soft ending to that series like I have for Apocalypse Gates before it. And in its place, we will have Antecedents Legacy, which has already been greenlit by the Mouthy Maven herself to record. I'll be publishing the book in January, and it'll be somewhere on Andy's schedule. For me, Andy will be doing Aether's Arrival 6 in February when she gets done with The Wandering End. So we still have things to go. And for those people who are wondering, I did ask Andy to hold off on recording Aether's Arrival 6 because for everyone who's been waiting for Aether Survival 5, which has been with ACX for 2 weeks now, and you're still waiting, we wanted to make sure that they didn't somehow screw up by holding on to things forever and then have us submit AR6 and then have them somehow push AR6 out first because reasons.
They do that. Yeah. And
So-
Lux Voice 5 and Binding Words 9 are both recorded and with the editor. So those are all coming down the pipe. Like they're recorded.
Just so I know, they're with your editor or with your proofer? Because I'm never sure which
Editor.
word I should. They're with your editor. Okay,
Mhm.
I'm never sure
Proofer
which.
comes
I've
like
always
after.
I've always called it with your proofer because I always thought it was with a proofer, so I didn't know.
Yeah, no.
And then-
It's proofer just listens to it typically. You're
then when
technically the proofer for them.
Yeah, and when I get them back from her, then I listen to them, which takes me about 2 days to go through a book. And then I give her my corrections, which can be something as you said, follow him with his ease
Ease. Follow
Instead
him
of-
with his ease.
instead of eyes. If you could fix that, because that really kind of pulls you right out of context.
Oh, that was so good. The conviction behind it was the best part.
Oh,
The fact it was just and followed him with his ease. What?
like
Why?
I wasn't dropping no ease.
What in the hell? You say words and you don't know why you say that word instead of the word. The other one is that I had to fix like 4 times in Aethers. Dadgum arena and area. The fucking arena and area every time. Like there was like
Actually,
4 or 5
wasn't
of those.
No, I want to say it was 2 or 3, honestly. That I tagged.
Yeah, no, they got tagged by mom.
Okay.
They were all over the place. They had to be fixed all over the place. I
Well, that's
messed
a
it up
problem
all
when
over.
you have an arena in a book, an area in a book. It's
And
an N. One N can make a big difference.
They're both locations. They fall in the same part of a sentence. Makes it very difficult.
I had a number of friends listen to the bloopers because of the range is there, but the humor as well. I mean, some of the bloopers. Let's be fair. Some of the bloopers are good. We can go back to the bloopers from AR1, where Gregory found out that he wasn't special, and that was the end of the book.
Yes.
However,
That's it.
at the moment, I think the blooper that people have latched onto the most is Elsa shitting in eggs.
Elsa shitting in the eggs.
Has
There's a new blooper to do with Elsa too.
Elsa shitting in the eggs, though, has been like the one blooper that everybody has latched onto. So
I will shit in your eggs, Gregory. I will do it. I will shit in them.
I won't spit in them.
I will drop trowel right here and shit in your eggs.
She was mad.
When are we going to get our update, please? Okay, guys, I am sorry. I've been having so much fun with Andy. I will get to the update. We just published Aether Survival 6 at the end of February. Wow. The end of November. Time is elusive, crazy thing. You
It's a
shouldn't
construct.
really it's just this artificial construct used to keep us down, okay? AR6 was published at the end of November, right around Thanksgiving, in fact, to give you something to do when you didn't want to listen to Uncle Bob go on about politics, religion, or anything else. Of course, it is Aether Survival, doing really good. I expect nothing else out of Aethers. You guys have really latched onto the series, and I'm glad. I was worried about this book since it is such a departure from the rest of the series. Since AR6, you only get to see the wives a handful of times. Otherwise, he's off training with his men. For those who are waiting for audio, spoilers, I guess, but not really. You knew what was coming. So the book is doing good. I really appreciate you guys jumping in. We are waiting for AR5 from ACX to give the audible, so we can all have it and listen to Andy doing amazing voices again. At some point, we'll get it. Lux Voice 5 and Binding Words 9 are with Andy's editors. And then when they're done with them, I will get them, listen to them, give her corrections, and then we will once again give them to ACX to then wait on to eventually get them, because that's how life works. My next book published will be Antecedent's Legacy, which is my sci-fantasy, as I'm calling it, because it has a science fiction, but it has a lot of hand-wavy science fiction. It has, nanotech, AI, not a whole lot of crunchy science. Don't ask me for crunchy science. I suck at science. But it does have fantasy. It does have dwarves, elves, succubi, dryads, because It's me. But it is a series that does have giant mechanical death machines, typically known as mecha. And our very lovely Mouthy Maven will be the one to titillate your ear holes with the words at some point. But it'll be after, of course, the book publishes in January, late January. I think my expected release date currently is January 23rd, but I could be wrong. I'd have to break out my other calendar for next year, which I haven't done yet. After that will be Dungeon Walkers 4 to Saft. Saft? Yes, Saft. Saft is a word. I don't know what it means, but it's apparently a word. Soft wrap Dungeon Walkers up. I do want to thank Stephanie Savannah again for stepping in for Travis for books 3 and 4. That was very nice to get another narrator of quality to step in after Travis. It's really hard to follow Travis, so it was really nice of her to step in. Not the first time I've had that happen. We've had Tess step in for Apocalypse Gates, so I hope this stops becoming a theme, but life is life. And then after Dungeon Walkers 4, we will get right back into rotation with Lux Voice 6, which I should be starting writing soon, because I'm just about done with Dungeon Walkers 4. So that kind of wraps us up on what has and is coming. So that is the update as of now. Which of DJ series have you had the most fun with? I'm assuming that one's directed at Andy.
Which one have I had the most fun with? That's a weird question because maybe Lux Voice because it's got the poker elements to it, and I really like the interpersonal stuff. I like the elements of kind of Doc becoming this land magnet and stuff. I really enjoy that. But I have pretty equal fun with all of them. Like I can't say one's like more fun than any of the other ones. I have a blast with your books. So
Has
really
there been a character that you can point to and be like, this one is just amazing to voice?
Yes, several of them. Sigmund's really fun. I really like Sigmund. Hats. I love Sigmund. There have been some that I've loved how they came out. Like I love how the pig lady came out in Lux Voice.
The
But
Tanner's wife.
Yeah, the Tanner's wife, but it was so hard to do. Like it wasn't a fun voice to make, but I really thought it was fun when it was done. I just really liked how it came out. As far as just really fun to do, I like Jefferson from Binding Words. I like Joseph from Binding Words. I like the like outlier weird characters a lot, but I also like Felora a lot. I have different reasons. It's always hard for me to pick favorite characters because I have different reasons that I like all of them. Like,
okay, has there been a voice you've regretted?
Has there been a voice I've regretted? In yours?
In mine. We know the one in The Wandering Inn that
Yeah, we know Floss.
that you complain about.
Yeah. I don't think so. No, Light Shield and fucking Hemet. Hemet and Light Shield. God damn it. Light Shield's voice versus Hemet and Lousy. Hemet, Lousy, and Light Shield. Those three are one. It sounds like he's going to die at any moment. The next one just sounds like an old man. And then the other one has a slight bit more voice to him, but that's it. The fuckers are talking to each other constantly. Like it's just they're very hard to tell apart. So
It makes me sad I've killed one of them. I kind of want to bring them all together again.
That part of it, I regret making them sound so similar, and Daniel gave me shit over it, like because it was like 2 books later, and he was like, "By the way, you're gonna hate me for something," and I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Light Shield's going with Hemet with them." I'm like, "What? Wait, why?" Hemet and Light Shield used to be a lot closer than they are in later books, as far as like their voices sound. They got more different to try to be able to differentiate them a little bit more because just in case anybody was wondering, I don't have that many old man voices. I do have a limit for them. Especially ancient old sensei type voices.
totally won't have more of those show up. Don't worry about it.
Oh, they absolutely will. They always do.
Ogre Lord, can you tell us about the infringement you mentioned on Twitter? Sure. My sister found out that she didn't have Hearthglen on Kindle, so she went to Amazon to pick it up to read through it because she got one of her friends into the series, and they're reading it basically side by side so they can talk about things while they work. And when she went to do that, she found that somebody had taken the artwork for the cover of Hearthglen and turned it into another product and was selling it on Amazon. That was how I started my day.
The
So
balls
I had
of
to
people.
I had to jump through the hoops of Amazon infringement, which isn't as clear cut as it should be, really. Because once you submit the form, then they email you back and go, "Oh, by the way, you also need to include these 16 other things with your form that we didn't tell you about originally, and is none of the drop-down boxes that we had you fill out the first time." So I had to resubmit the form with the code they gave me, with the 16 things answered. That only took me about an hour of my day this morning. Because
Did you
that's how I
include
want
the
to.
cover letter with the
Because
TPS report?
Because that's how I want to start my day. I mean, literally, I sat at my desk, I had breakfast. I'm like, okay, let's kick this pig. And my phone went bing, and I went, text from my sister. I hope she's okay. Hey, brother, have you seen this? No, I hadn't. Thanks for letting me know. That is the long and short of what I've been doing. Somebody stole the artwork, which I rightfully own, and was selling it as another product. That same company, which I'm fairly certain is a company somewhere in, say, the eastern side of the world. We won't point names at anybody specifically. Also had other movie, posters and book covers and stuff that they were doing the same thing with. So I'm hoping Amazon gives them the short shrift that they deserve. But it's Amazon, so they might be like, yeah, we couldn't find any problems with that. So I did what I have to do to protect my intellectual property, and really, it's for the cover of one of my books. So I mean, if it comes down to trying to get lawyers and stuff involved, that's sunk cost fallacy at that point. So I do what I can, and then at some point I have to be like, well, fuck a duck.
Yep.
But yeah, that was the start of my day. It was fun. Totally fun.
I'm so sorry, man. That sucks.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Well, cost of doing business, I guess. It just sucks when you have to take care of things. I want to thank you both for helping make the hours and miles on the road fly by. So on behalf of truckers who have loved your books and narrations, thank you both. Well, no problem, Alma.
You're
I
so
am
welcome.
I do audio for mostly truckers. Truckers, the individuals, like I have a friend who's basically dyslexic. Man does not. I think he's only read one book in his life. People who work long hours and can't actually find the time to read. I don't. I make a fraction of what I make off of audio compared to ebooks, and I keep a good friend employed. So hey, win. Truckers get audio, and Andy gets to read irreverent things. I think this works out.
I enjoy it. I'm a fan.
Let's see. Scroll down. I write down all the things that Andy complains about, so I can add them in later.
This is
And
an
then
established thing.
And then my editors pull half of them out because they're in collusion with each other.
I'm friends with them. I send up smoke signals to Serena and Skitty. Help! Please help!
He named another Ryan.
If there's one more fucking alliterative name and one more speaking in unison, I'm gonna have a stroke.
Well, I mean, in some cases though, the unison has to happen.
Oh, it absolutely does.
I understand that there were probably too many of them and you needed to break them apart. I don't mind. And in most of those cases, Andy, you can literally just have it be the main lead speaking and be like, they said in unison, and I'd be like, yeah, legit. So
Yeah. Most of the time at this point, I don't think that's I give you shit about it, but I don't think that's actually been like very common since AR2 or something like
yeah,
that.
it was AR2 or 3 that
Yeah.
that was the first time you're like, not another unison.
There's so many unisons. But at the same time, AR is the one series where it makes a lot of sense because there is that kind of militaristic bent to it. They're a clan, they're working together, they're a team. So yes, sensei, no sensei. That needs to be at the same time. So that makes perfect sense. If it's Fiona, Fallora, and Mina all saying something and it ends up in unison, that too many times ends up sounding a little Children of the Corny. So those puns
Yeah.
I break apart.
Fallora and Mina being in lockstep for a couple of sentences, like maybe a book, makes sense, especially when they're poking Sean.
Mm-hmm.
When they're doing something like, "We understand, Master."
Exactly.
Just twist that in a little bit on him.
Yeah.
So, a lot of male narrators are super cringe when trying to do sexy time voices, but the last thing I ever want to hear a dude is a dude pillow talking to me. I am biased. No, I'm right there with you, honestly. I first heard Andy doing, I want to say it was the first Wild Wastes. My good friend Sean, yes, Sean, everyone, based
Sean.
based off a real live person.
Met
Um,
Sean. Sean just like Sean. Sean
Sean,
sweet.
Sean is
Innocent.
so Sean.
Sean is
Sean is
Sean.
so Sean. He was playing I took a ride with him and he had the first Wild Waste book out because I had introduced him to William Moran. So when I found out when he found out that Darren was a pen name, another pen name for Moran, he was like, "Oh, I'm totally going to give the book a try." When we took the drive, it was, I believe, right during ant sex, petrosex. I was like, well, if she can handle this, then the 18-year-old busty goth, pretty mild in comparison, I'm pretty sure I can ask her to step in for Apocalypse Gates. So that was how I first got introduced to Andy's voices, was petrosex, honestly. And I went, well, if she can handle ant sex, she can handle busty goth, I'm fairly certain. And that's how things started. I reached out to her, I think, shortly after that, when I was like, I didn't want to go back to Podium, because Podium was doing Alpha World for me at the time. I wanted to see what it was like not giving away, the majority of revenue to another company. And Andy said yes, she could. And I then devoured everything else that Andy had put out at that point, because my fucking god, does she have range? even back then, hun, you had phenomenal just ability, because you weren't just reading the words about how he got up and crossed the room. Everyone had their own voice, and it was like, oh my god, it's like a full cast, but it's one person.
I really like narrating that way. I know there's if I end up on the right or the wrong panel, depending on the situation, I can take some shit for that, because not everybody thinks that's necessarily the right way to do things. But it definitely is more fatiguing. Like, there's a reason that I'm a little bit slower than some other narrators. I'm still pretty fast in comparison to some, but I'm slower than, like, Travis Baldry is a machine. He does like 80-hour months.
Let's talk about actual humans and not machines, okay,
yeah,
Andy?
I record about 2 finished hours a day. So in that takes me about 6 hours to do. So I'm not at a terrible ratio or anything, but it's taken a long time to build that range in and to get it to a point where it's not so cringy. Like, I hear early stuff sometimes and I hear choices that I make and I'm like, it's all stepping stones. It's all stepping stones.
I
They're all
I un-
bricks in the road. Just
I
be
under
okay.
I understand, because I routinely go back and re-listen to a series. Like, when I start writing the next Lux Voice, I'll go back to Lux Voice Audio and I'll listen to it while I'm taking my daily walk, an hour and a half every day. I'll burn through the books in fairly decent time and I'll listen to it. And it's not Andy reading them that makes me cringe. It's listening to the choices I've made for the words. And I'm like, I could, if I just tweaked that sentence, if I just substituted this word instead. And those are, like I said, that'd be Lux Voice 1. And even then, I'm like, that's not that long ago. I went back, I think it was last year, because I would like to go back and like polish up Last Horizons beta and live again. Because first 2 books out, they are rough. I mean, we'll just call them what they are. They are roughly written. I had no idea what I was doing. My girlfriend who helped edit the first book, like I said, we took a year with it, and we had no idea what we were doing trying to polish things up even at that point. And I went, okay, I'll use like an hour of free time. I'll give up an hour of reading or an hour of video games, and I'll just slowly start to polish things up. I'll go through it, and I read the first chapter. I haven't opened that document since. I will find somebody who will take on the hard manual labor, because honestly, it feels like breaking rocks when I went back and read it. It was like, oh my God, how did I publish this? How did I not get just raked over coals for what I did to the English language? So yeah, one of these days I'll go back and repolish them. I have already asked for the audio rights back from Tantor when the 7-year comes up. Before they go back out in audio format, and before I like cover them, I will at some point get them polished again. And then I'll find somebody, probably not Andy. Andy's booked through for forever, let's be honest. But I'll find somebody who will then record the polished version of them. And, we'll go from there. But that's probably a years away project if I can ever bear the torment of reopening those documents again. I love the story. I love what I wrote. I don't love the way I wrote it anymore.
I very much
I
feel
think
that.
it's like you said, when you go back and you listen to like one of the first books you ever narrated, and you're like,
I just recorded Wild Wastes 4, and Wild Wastes is literally like my 3rd book I ever recorded. That series is super early for me. And why? Some of those voice samples, why? Like, I know for a fact what Vince sounds like in book 3. What Vince sounds like in book 1 is like a drunk Southerner, and I do not remember giving him a Southern accent. I remember Jeff Hayes coming in and listening while I was recording at one point and going, oh, wow, you must be doing a Southern thing for him. And I specifically remember at that moment being like, he's not Southern. You don't know what you're talking about. I just went and listened to it when I was recording, and he's like cutting off the end of words and stuff like that. And I'm just going, what the fuck was I doing? What was I doing? Who approved this?
Yeah.
It sounded nothing like that by book 3. So that's stuff like that, man. It's
Well-
hard to go back. It's hard.
Well, I'm about to say, just let's take Mina for example.
Mm-hmm.
Her voice changes, and
Mm-hmm.
that was always going to happen. But from book 1 to book 9, because
Yeah.
that's where we're at now. There is, if you go back and you listen to the truckers specifically, will know. If you go back and listen to them in order, you will hear the slow shift of Mina's voice.
Yep.
Going back after having listened to like you live record book 9, and
Yeah.
just popping over to like find a word in like book 2 and
It's
listen to the
weird.
audio there, it's like,
Yeah.
what happened? Now,
Yeah.
if you listen to them all in a row, it's not nearly as jarring. But going from book 9 back to like book 2 to find something was like, what happened?
Yeah. And there's this weird thing that happens because a lot of times it is the character kind of organically growing and changing as a character. Sometimes it's just there's an aspect of it that's really hard to duplicate that you can't really get consistently, and that's kind of a risk that you take when you do really unique voices. Sometimes there's just an aspect of it that's hard to get every single time. You were able to pull it off that time, but just can't get it again or whatever the case may be. But a lot of times it comes from just the character growing, the character changing, the character evolving in how they speak. Like their dialogue not being as stilted. So why have their accent that heavy and backing that off? Or they've been around all of these other people really closely, so they probably are picking up a little bit more of their speech pattern and yada yada yada. And it slowly evolves. Typically happens in animation too. Like Chris Griffin in season 1 of Family Guy sounds nothing like Chris Griffin in season 10 of Family Guy. Like
Yeah.
they evolve over time. Typically I do my best. I keep early samples to try to keep things solid, but they still evolve over time. Yeah,
Well,
they change.
like I said, and but some of that is the character evolving.
Yeah.
Yuki, book 1 AR, much more soft spoken, reserved, quiet, as opposed to Yuki AR5.
Yeah.
Look, bitch, get away from my man.
Yeah, she's a lot more self-assured. She's come into her own. She's happy, she's strong, she's come a long way as a character. It makes more sense that she says it a lot more with her chest, she speaks a lot more from a position of confidence now because she's in charge of a lot of stuff. Like she basically manages their whole relationship. Makes sense.
She manages a god's household basically.
Yep.
So we talk about responsibility.
Seriously.
Well, if he gets upset, there goes the continent. So we
Yeah.
better make sure he's fine.
I'll keep him in shape. Don't worry.
Andy, how do you deal with the intimate scenes? Are there scenes that you won't do? Does your family get embarrassed by them?
Funny story. You said ant sex. Okay. So here's the thing. My mom's my editor. My primary editor is my mother, my biological mother, my person who birthed me into this world, who was a worship leader for 20 years, is my editor. So she was reading, she was editing Wild Wastes, and I am across the house while she's editing, and all I hear is, "He fucks an ant!" at the top of her lungs from the other side of the house. Just, "He fucks an ant!" So my mom is a unique blend of accepting, but she just knows it's my work. My mom understands. My mom does not mind scenes like that at all when they are like intimate scenes that are part of the story and stuff. She doesn't. She will absolutely give me shit when they're gratuitous. She will absolutely give me shit for that. But my mom's a good natured about it. She's funny about it. So as far as whether or not my family's ashamed, she's really the only one that knows, to be honest.
I want to touch on just 2 points that are tangentially connected to that.
Yes.
How does Hayes feel about it?
Oh, he doesn't care.
He doesn't care that you're retaking "Yes, fuck me, daddy" like 12 times into a microphone.
He finds it wildly amusing, and he knows I'm here 24 hours a day, so he's beyond not threatened.
And then the other one is just a point of pride for me. There could be one of your editors who you've already talked about, your mother, who has specifically asked to make sure she is the one who gets to edit my books.
She fights to edit yours. If she is coming up, if I'm coming up where I've got like 2 books that are going to happen at the same time, so I need her to take one and my backup editor to take another one. If she finds out one of them is Daniel's, she will demand that she gets it. Like that woman was coming straight off of chemotherapy, like hardcore chemotherapy. I told her she could not do any editing. I was like, "No, we're not doing that. You need to get better. That needs to be the concern." And she's like, "No, you don't understand." I'm like, what don't I understand? You have a Daniel book coming up. I want to do that one. I'm like, "Mom, you're sick. You can barely sit up." And she's like, "I know, but I want to do that one. I want to edit that one." I like Lux's voice. I really like that one. She loves Lux's voice. She loves AR. Like, I think Binding Words she came in on the middle of, so she doesn't have the same connection to it, but she still loves the story for what she understands of it. She knows he's a crafter.
I found that when Andy told me that, mom's going through cancer treatment, but she's fighting to get your book to edit it. I'm like, she needs to get better. No, she is tooth and nail on me for being able to edit this book. Okay, well, we don't want to stress her more, so I guess let her have it.
Yeah, it was an argument. I tried to get her to not take it, and she wouldn't accept it. She wanted that one desperately bad. So, how do I handle them? Stanislavski method. We've all been there as adults. Just try to remember back to the things you've experienced in your life and try to figure out how that would sound if you're on a microphone, I guess. Like it's all thinking through trying to live human emotion. Just like if I'm trying to think through what a person sounds like when he's murdering someone, I try to figure out what that would sound like and put that on the microphone the best way. Excuse me. Neither one of those are more or less embarrassing to me. I'm pretty shameless when it comes to that shit.
No, she's
Um,
shameless. She works with me.
Yeah, like I'm pretty shameless. And if there is stuff that makes me uncomfortable, yeah, of course there are things that make me uncomfortable. Like there are a number of things that make me uncomfortable. Where the line actually is just kind of depends on the situation.
Well,
That's a tough question always.
about to say you've pushed back the line from when you started though.
Mhm.
So as with all of life, there is growth.
Mhm.
Do I have fun torturing Andy with names? Actually, no. I have never gone out of my way to deliberately put names in, laughing that Andy is going to have to read them. So fun story. You guys haven't gotten there yet. Antecedent's Legacy. There are a couple of names. They're alien names. His translator isn't translating correctly yet. That Andy's gonna have a lot of fun with. My editors got to them and went, Andy's going to hate you. And I went, what can you do? They're literally alien names.
There are not enough fucking vowels, Daniel.
Oh,
There's
one
not
of
enough
them-
vowels.
One of them has none. No
No,
vowels.
there's no fucking vowels, Daniel. You can't have a word without vowels.
Tell that species that, Andy. Don't look at me. I'm just an after-action reporter.
So, if y'all hear some struggling in some alien names, if you hear
Nope.
weeping from the direction of Maine, you know what it is.
It's just me. I didn't like, oh, Andy's gonna hate this, snicker. I just was like, yeah, this makes sense to me. You know, what does a kitsune's name sound like? It would sound kind of like a fox chittering, probably. Okay, let me get something down that kind of looks like that as a name, and then I moved on. And it gets, I think, mentioned like twice in the book. Like the first time the person's introduced, and the main character literally goes, "I didn't understand that," and it goes, "Yeah, you're not going to be able to reproduce it with your vocal cords. Cool. Can I give you a nickname then?" And that's what gets used for the rest of the series then. So, but yeah, she will probably struggle once or twice. But
Yeah.
I've never got out of my way for it. I try to keep things, accurate, I guess.
Yeah, and that's not something that like you are specifically a dick about at all. Like if I had a book that had all Celtic names or something like hardcore like Gaelic names, that would be the same issue for me. They'd be hard to say, hard to parse, hard to do. Like or the what's the name of that creature?
Sasquatch?
Sasquatch.
The Sasquatch?
Yes, the Sasquatch. I had to look up the native language that word came from to figure out what their structure of speaking was, to try to figure out what those noises would be in that word. And it ended up, the closest I can get is Sasquatch is what it should be.
And I mean, if you say it with in voice of trying to get some kind of accent on it, that would be correct. It could sound to a very mangled, I don't care because I'm better than you peasant ear as Sasquatch, which makes perfect sense then how we get Sasquatch. And yes, I did go and find the actual folkloric name for Sasquatch, Wild Man of the Woods, and was like, I'll use it. And I didn't think at the time, Andy's going to hate this. I was like, I'm so proud of me. I used something legitimate. And Andy got to that word and she's like, what?
What is that word?
Damn it, Daniel.
And Daniel just pops up in the chat. I'm like, what is that word? And he's like, it was just the native word for Sasquatch.
So the native
I have
word
no
for
idea how to say
Sasquatch.
it.
How do you say it? Wow.
I don't know.
I
Son
don't
of a
look up.
bitch.
I don't look up pronunciations. That's your job.
Damn it. It's true.
By the way, sir, you got my grandmother to call me a furry. My life is complete.
There you go.
I'm assuming it was during. No, there's a couple places it could be. I'm not going to touch it any more than that.
Yep.
My mother, Andy. My mother has a question for you. It's how hard is it for Andy to switch characters while recording?
Um, if they're really, really long time established characters, not hard at all. The only times that that'll pop up is if I have two characters that has like one has kind of a Russian-y sounding accent and one has a Scottish sounding accent, then that'll create kind of a car crash for a second. And I have to pause between them to get it to reset real quick so they don't just sound like Rottish or something. Like it'll be a weird hybrid of the two. But typically, as long as they're pretty distinct and I know who the characters are, not hard at all. But if they're newer characters, that takes a little more work, or if they're similar sounding accents, or if it's Light Shield carrying on, and then Hibbert has to say something about something, and then Light Shield speaks up again. There'll be times if they go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, they slowly become the same person, and I have to reset and go back and be like, okay, hold on. We got to reset back here and come at this again because they're becoming the same person. But if it's going from Flora, like if it's down here for Flora,
And then it goes up to Chastity. It's not that really that big a deal. But it's hard to get like Chastity to like
Andrea, like that would be a harder switch. Like that's not Andrea. Like that is harder to do. That's not Andrea's voice. Like that. Trying to switch between those two is very difficult. But other than that, it's good.
I'm so glad I paired them off then as a couple for the
Right.
for the one book they had before
Right.
death happened.
Now Chastity's just a sweet little thing with a mother who's constantly scared half to death about Sean. I swear, if
Oh God,
Marjorie
you're all
wasn't
just
already
visiting,
dead,
right?
Marjorie would have had a heart attack 7 times over if she wasn't already dead.
I'm glad I'm already dead, Sean. My heart keeps jumping into my chest.
God, just keeps appearing every time it's in front of Marjorie, and she's just like, "Oh, are you all right? Are they all gone?" No, we're just visiting Marjorie. It's fine. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm gonna make some tea.
Ooh, I know another set that you loved, Andy. Eugene, Yuki's mom, and
Yes,
Jin.
Eugene and you and
Jin.
Jin. Yeah, because there was you, Jin, and then Eugene. In the same fucking room for like a long time because that was during the tournaments and they were
Books
all
1 and 2.
together constantly. They were all together and it was constant back and forth between Jin, you, because everybody, her family calls her you, and then Eugene. There were so many damn it Daniels that day. So many. So
The
many damn it Daniels.
unintentional aggravation is the best
Yeah.
aggravation.
That the only other one I can think of is making both first girls in Lux voice and in Binding Words Flora and Fiona, because I have called Fiona Flora, not Flora. Oh no, my brain just blanked really hard. Fiala and Fiona. Because I have called Fiona Fiala and called Fiala Fiona 700 times. Like that is a constant switch for me. Like especially because like during this run where I was doing multiples of each type of book, I'd go back and forth between Lux voice and Binding Words, and I'm like, Fiona said shit. Go back again. Start it again.
Yeah, the good times.
Yes, that Paul. Just damn it, Daniel.
I don't know. I think a damn it Daniel highlight reel could would be a Patreon thing, honestly.
Right. Just just a constant streak of damn it Daniels.
Scroll down. Andy, thank you for your Herculean effort over this past month and a half.
Aw, thank you guys.
I mean, from what was it? It was most of October,
Mhm.
half of October, all of November, and then
Mhm.
half of December. It's basically 2 months. You popped out 5 books for me.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was intense. She was trying to catch back up on the backlog, and she almost cleared everything out. And the only reason we slammed on the brakes was because of ACX.
Yeah.
So
We had 2 books sitting in ACX, 2 books already in editing. Like one book was cleared finally. It was a okay, wait.
that's what it was.
Yeah.
We had Binding Words 8 waiting. We were handing over AR 5. She had finished recording LV 5,
Mhm.
and she was recording Binding Words 9, and she's like, I mean, I could push and like get it in before I take my winter break. And I'm like, well, hang on, let's look at the times they fucked you over by not releasing a book, and then you put the next book up for them, and then they've been like, oh, we're gonna publish the second book first. So after some back and forth, I'm like, let's not risk that, especially since we're going to have um five books that she'll have completed that we will be handing off to you guys in the span of what, basically December, January. I'm fairly certain they'll all be pushed through by the end of January, guys, which means 5 credits for those people who use credits to buy books. That's half of a yearly Audible account,
Mhm.
basically, all in the span of 2 months. So I was like,
Yeah.
let's not try to tack a sixth in there. So,
Oh,
however, by February, you will have everything she's recorded over the last couple of months. God,
Kleekai says Sonia and Sophia. That's the other one. Sonia and
yeah,
Sophia get flipped all the time too. That one.
yeah.
Yep. But yeah, they'll have everything. So it's just gonna be a constant deluge for a while. It'll be a lot of credits.
Is there a time stop for this chat since he isn't doing the chat as much? Well, me and Andy normally get together and play Friday nights. This is our play night. We'd be killing pixels right now normally. So we'll probably run for an hour, maybe slightly over that. By midnight Andy's time, we will be putting the brakes on. And if Andy needs to go before that, she will let me know and we will let her go and be very, very sad. But we understand that we can't keep people here no matter how much we want to.
Yeah. Andy is on the other side. Andy is on the East Coast, so it's late time here.
I'm just glad that she's a late riser, because otherwise, I'd get like a text message at like 4 in the morning my time and be Andy being like, I'm up, I'm doing stuff.
Oh yeah.
So I need to ask you questions. And I'd be like, I'm asleep.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. So I am actually grateful for that.
Yeah, no.
But
Andy wakes up like 7 in the summer, 9 in the winter. I'm a sleeper.
normally the earliest Andy's ever caught me is like when I'm sitting down at my desk for breakfast and she's like, yeah, I've been up and I had this question, and I'm like, well, it's good timing because I just got here.
Yeah, at least I'm not in the UK. That's true.
Well, hang on. May I ask Andy for any recommendations of books that she has done that fans of Daniels will enjoy? I would have to say that'd be most of Rand stuff. My fan base and Rand's overlap
Mhm.
a lot.
Yeah,
So William Rand, Randy Darren, um,
by far.
pen names for the same individual. I would say those books are right there. Um, and then it depends on what else. If you want like sexy times, you could probably go back to was it Dan
Hondo.
the Barbarian?
Yeah, Dan the
Yeah, Hondo
Barbarian
Jinx.
and Power Mage. Those are a lot more spicy. Power Mage specifically has a lot of spice in it. If
You
you don't
just
want, go ahead.
I was about to say, another book that you did just came out.
Azerinth?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna recommend. If you
Yeah.
don't mind no sexy times and no harem, but not a it's very irreverent, very punch things to heal them, cusses like a sailor, like that kind of thing. Azeroth Healer. Like that's a really good one too. It's a very like crunchy lit RPG, but she
That
punches
was
stuff to
another
heal it. It's
web
hilarious.
novel, wasn't it? Isn't that
Mhm.
another converted web
Yeah.
novel? Because
It
I
is,
mean,
but
you've
it's
had
nothing like The Wandering Inn as far as like emotionally stuff.
yeah, but you've had recently you've had quite a few web novel conversions that you've done.
Just those two primarily that I can think of.
I thought you had
There's
another one.
another No, there's another one that I'm thinking that I'm gonna be doing on like a Patreon thing. They're gonna be doing like a chapter a month or something like that, or 2 chapters a month kind of thing. But that'll be
Okay.
slowly released. So that's not set in stone yet. So I don't want to say what the title is, but
Oh, that's
that's the
fine.
only other one.
I would have sworn there
Was
was another
Tower of
one out there.
Somnus a web novel? I didn't know it
I
was.
don't
If it is.
if I don't know. I thought it was, but I don't keep up with web novels. I
don't
find out
either,
about
that's the
them later.
problem. Yeah, I find out after they're published. So, okay, Shank is saying Tower of Somnus was a web novel. That's not me disregarding books at all. I just don't keep up with what's a web novel and what's not. I see the published work, basically. I see
Yeah.
the finished work. Yeah, okay, Dame's saying it was. So that one was
Okay.
also a web novel. I wasn't aware of that. That's my bad.
I'm with you. I have maybe an hour I give myself to read a night.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm finally done. I'm gonna go lay down. I'll get a couple of chapters and I'll go to bed. Sometimes that becomes 2 or 3 hours, depending on how good the book is. But I have no time for web novels. I don't. Which is why when I see people recommend them, I'm like, well, if they ever put them up on Amazon, I'll give them a read. And of late, with a lot of the indie publishers that are out there, that have been jumping on them because it's easy to basically go to the web novel guys and be like, "Hey, would you like to make some money for the shit you've already done?" Because that's what it comes down to. I think that's been the biggest push of web novels being converted over of late. Some of the bigger ones, of course, The Wandering Inn. I don't think Pirate actually. I'm fairly certain Podium approached Pirate.
Yeah, Pirate wasn't gonna do audio because Pirate wasn't interested in like releasing audiobook. So they weren't released and they weren't interested in publishing. So basically Podium had to go to them and go, "Hey, we'll take care of all this stuff for you if you just release it." But another one's like He Who Fights with Monsters, I think Beware of Chickens one. Like there's a bunch of them that have come out.
Yeah. He Who Fights with Monsters, I think the audiobook for that is actually coming out this next week because the ebook just came out like a couple of days ago. I have a friend who does, like I said, audiobooks mainly. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm waiting for that audio to come out." And I'm like, I've been reading it, you sucker, you, because I can do that. This makes me think about doing Audible. I've always preferred reading, but Andy's voices are awesome. I don't have Discord, so I don't know what it sounds like. If you did pull up Discord, Paul, she live streams her recordings. So it would be easy enough to pop in and hear them. I can only recommend the audiobooks that Andy has done, even if you never buy any of mine and you buy other audiobooks she's done. The sheer depth and breadth she gives to the characters, the life she breathes into them, is worth every dollar or credit if you do credit. So it's worth it. She has moved me to tears with my own books before when I've listened to them. I am not so unfeeling that I cannot admit that Andy has made me sob like a baby while I'm out for a rock. Yes, when I'm out for a rock. Well, I mean, some chapters. When I'm out for a walk. Yeah. Some chapters walk.
Thank you guys.
Let's see. Roll 5d4 and add 10 days. That's like normal ACX time, but when you get down near the holidays, it's more like 5d20s add 10 days. So
yeah.
I mean, you've had books waiting a couple of months before they've dropped, haven't you?
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, that was back when ACX was woefully understaffed and they got bombarded near a holiday, but it was like, okay, this book's been waiting 3 months, guys.
Yeah.
And then you put the next, I think it was one of them was Power Mage. You put the next book of Power Mage up, and they released, I think it was book 3 before book 2 got released, and it was like, bah, you've had book 2 for a month. What the fuck?
They hung on to it for like 2 or 3 months, and on top of that, then after they had hung on to it for 2 or 3 months, we had already submitted 2 of them because that was how long they'd had it. When they finally did it, they released the fucking second one first. It wasn't the second one, but it was book 4, I think. Everything was 3 and 4. They released 4 before they released 3. It caused a huge problem. Everyone was confused. You'd be amazed at how pissy people get with stuff like that. Like, they accuse you of, like, money grubbing, and you're just sitting there going, I have no clue how you think I'm money grubbing in this instance.
Right.
Like I had any control over this.
If we had any control, guys, trust me, we'd be pushing the books out way sooner.
We don't
We get
control the
paid.
prices. We don't control the time. Like,
We get paid after things come out. So we'd love to put them out the next day or even the same day. We don't get that choice. We
It
don't
is
get to
a
set the
multi-month
price
cycle.
points for things either. That's all ACX and Audible.
Yep.
So
Yeah, we have to wait 2 months after a release to see a penny from it. So it's like, yeah, we'd love for them to be out faster. Fucking trust me. We'd love for that to get pushed through, but unfortunately.
so you're aware, Andy, as a trucker, I have to say that I am competitive at outswearing sailors, Army, Navy, or Marines. But listening to your bloopers, I think you have the crown because some of the creative cussing combos you have come up with has me in scratching my head, but also laughing my ass off.
Yeah, I like to say, people ask for more bloopers on more books, and I'm like, y'all don't get it. The bloopers are uncensored and they're nasty a lot of times. Like I like to say I cuss like a sailor with a tick on his nuts. Like I cuss real bad, and those bloopers are beyond R at times. So they are not going to go into like the average book. Podium ain't putting that shit out. So those are for indie situations where I can look at Daniel and go, "Hey, do you mind if I talk about Elsa shitting in eggs for a couple minutes at the end of the book?"
Oh, I love them. They're amazing.
Yeah. They're special
Xerox Xerox says his daughter wants to know what the hardest book you've had the most trouble narrating is.
Oh, that's a simple answer, but it might be a little bit of a surprise to some people who aren't in the Discord. The Town Under series, because I'm not from Australia. So every character having an Aussie accent in those books was extremely challenging. Like to the point where the author made the main character into an American just to try to save me because she wanted me to narrate the books. KT really wanted that. And I told her, I was like, KT, I'm not Aussie. Like, I'm not going to be able to do this. And she's like, please, 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 please do it. I really love your narration. I went into 16 weeks of accent training to get some semblance of an Aussie accent. And then 50 plus characters were all Aussies. So or 40 characters, luckily. And then I had to have a guy do the voices for the guys because my guy Aussie ended up sounding like a drunk Cockney. So those books were a challenge, but that was like a mechanical challenge because I'm not from Australia. So
And Andy,
those were
to
tough.
be fair, Australians are drunk cockneys, or at least they were.
Yes, we refer to it as the cursed series because everything goes wrong on those books. Like from literally like files corrupting to people having once in a lifetime like medical emergencies and stuff like during the production. It's like every once in a while you get a series that's just cursed. Like everything goes wrong.
I was gonna say it was the Wandering in Floss edition myself, but
No. That
I
was
remember
just
that
more.
murdered your voice.
It was that one, that the 11 hours of floss was extremely tough on my voice. That was just fatiguing to an extreme. It wasn't that difficult. It was more just fatiguing. Town Under, Flat Out, and Bloody Oath were very difficult just because non-native accent. It's always tough.
Andy, KT will be at Dragon Con if you
That'll be
make
fun.
it to Dragon Con. If you make it to Dragon Con.
I'm going to Dragon Con next year. I already have reservations.
Okay. You are of course invited to my Friday night dinner for
Yay!
my quote unquote employee.
The employee dinner.
My freelancers that I hire continually.
Yay!
So I didn't know if you had solidified plans or not. So
yeah, Dame and I are roomies.
KT messaged me earlier this week and was like, "I'm going to Dragon Con. You're going to be there, right?" I'm like, "Yes, I am."
KT
I
is
get
awesome.
the soft, squishy KT hugs, and I will look
Okay.
forward to it. By the way, guys,
When
if
I hug
if
KT, it's like marshmallows melding together, and it's just the
about to say
best.
two marshmallows. Can I be in the
Mhm.
middle of that hug? Because I really, really want to be in the middle of that hug. And for once, not for sexual reasons. I'm just,
Just for soft, squishy, comfy
oh my
reasons.
God, so comfy. The both of you are so comfy.
And the people who I give hugs at things like Dragon Con and stuff, and if you've had the experience of hugging me, I'm very soft. I have no sharp edges. So I'm very
I have
pleasant.
plenty of sharp edges, but they're normally verbally, so you're fine. But yeah, KT said she was going to be there, and I was like, yes.
Yeah, KT's awesome.
Andy, if Empire's Gambit was made into an actual playable game, would you play it?
Oh, fuck yes. Yes, that'd be amazing. I'd
I
be
mean, it would
terrible
be
at it,
amazing.
but I love it.
I can confirm she would be terrible
I'm
at it.
terrible.
It is a strategy based game. Andy would be terrible at it.
I am
As somebody
the
who plays
worst.
turn based strategy games with Andy every week, you would be handicapping your team so much to have
Yep.
her on your side.
It'd be so bad. It'd be the poorest decision. You would not want me on your team ever because I am the idiot that sends the fire mage right into the middle of the water mage, the powers that I just sent out, because that wouldn't possibly go wrong in any way. What do you mean I negated all the damage I just did? Stop it. I wanted those things to happen together. Yeah, exactly. We die together. Exactly.
Oh,
Team up, Ollie.
so many times have we died together. So
Like,
many times.
a good example of the bullshit that I do is in Divinity Original Sin 2. I lit the entire area around myself on fire because I had a fire mage, and I had like immolated, I can't remember the name of the power, where it basically exploded fire all around me and done damage. Now, the people around me are burning. It is important they keep burning to do damage. So, what did I do? Literally, the next character that went, I'm like, ooh, I know what I'll do. Global cooling. So, I did 10 feet away from the person that had just done the fire damage. I set off global cooling, which literally the only effect of global cooling is that it puts out fucking fires. Like, that's the only thing it does, is it moves things down like a temperature tier. So I did the damage and then immediately undid the damage. I just...
Well, that was going to be amazing, and now it's it just is.
What's the game? Conquest? What's the one that came out 3? The 3rd edition came out like last year.
What, Baldur's Gate?
Conquering Kings. What's the name of that game? It's the strategy game map. You play kings and conquerors or whatever it's called. I can't remember what it's called right now. I played it with Will. Within the first 5 minutes, I attacked Will on accident.
Yeah, I remember him telling me that one.
Yeah, I attacked Will within 5 minutes because I couldn't tell where my pieces were. And Crusader Kings 3. Yeah, so I attacked Will within 5 minutes. Then later on in that exact same game, I had managed somehow to capture the king for the people we were fighting. And so Will's like, "Oh, good, you have the king in your prison. Hang on to him." And Will, "What did you just do?" And I'm like, "I beheaded the king and sent it back. That's good, right?" So I beheaded the king that I had just captured and sent it back, and they wanted to continue the war for some reason because they're a bunch of pussies.
I don't know why they would find that offensive.
Wusses. Yeah, so bottom line is I'm fucking terrible. So you don't want me to play strategy games, but I'm a lot of fun to play with. I'm just awful.
Chaos is what you get. Well, she is maniacally pushing buttons with no idea of what might happen from doing them. I'm over there going, okay, hang on. Now I have to plan my entire move. Okay, so if I teleport there and then I hit the combo, I can drop that one. Well, then I have to switch over to that one to get.
Oh wait, I can just teleport you.
Doesn't kill us. And you just switched me with the big bad that I was going to kill. So now I'm halfway across the map still. and he is on the other side of the map. So, yeah,
I helped,
it's.
right?
Oh, by the way, Andy, Baldur's Gate 3 has been given a release date of 2023.
Wasn't it
think
March of
it's
2023 or something?
it's sometime in 23, but they've actually come out and said, okay, here's
Oh,
our release
man.
date, which means they'll stop wiping everything at that point,
Yeah,
which means we can actually pick up Baldur's Gate 3 then, which will
that'd be
be
awesome.
fun. So, Andy, my mother, wants to know, how do you decide on how a character should sound?
Ooh, good question. Combination of the world that they're in, if the world has location-based accents or racially based accents, which just kind of has to do with what time period they are in and kind of how insular the peoples are and stuff. Like in Luck's voice, the dwarves are very like insular. They're all very kind of they hang with other dwarves, so they all have like a racial accent. They all sound very like they all have that kind of Germanic accent. But if you go to like Binding Words, where the world's a little more blended, those lines are a little softer. So the accents and stuff depend on kind of the book that it's in, but their voice and tone quality and stuff, it's I get the vibe when I'm reading them, and I try to balance what they sound like as a character with who else they're going to be with and stuff, and make sure that I keep them in the same. I want them to sound like them, but I also want to be able to have longevity with their voice and have freedom to do different things, because even though I may be able to do this for a voice, I don't have a lot of flexibility in this voice. So it wouldn't do me a lot of good for a main character. And it's kind of annoying. So that kind of stuff, you just don't want to do that kind of thing. But basically, I read the books, I find out how they what I think they'll sound like, and then I compare it to the other people that are existing and try to make people sound separate and stuff, but make sure they still sound like themselves. And then I just make a bunch of funny noises until I like some of them.
And sometimes she's like, this is the voice I want. Wait, it doesn't sound right. Okay, let me try something else. Which is how we actually got to Aria the Southern edition.
Yeah.
So
I'd gone through and done Aria with a voice that I can't remember what it was now, and it just sounded wrong. I didn't like it. It sounded too like a lot of times I'll go back and fix it because it sounds too generic. It sounds too much like another voice that I've done or something like that. I just need something special, and so I'll do something different for it that I can back up with some sort of reasoning in my head and make sure that it's not I'm not making a choice for me. I'm making a choice for the book. That's what I try to keep it to.
So, Andy, so you're aware Wolf the Fallen says that you are their favorite narrator. He
Thank you.
cannot read any of my books without hearing you narrating it in his head. He gets confused when he looks for an audiobook that is not yet out, wondering where it is, swearing that they've already listened to
it. Thank you.
I understand. After Andy has narrated one book out of any given series, I'm like, and those are the voices that they're stuck with. Those are the voices that now inhabit my head. Doesn't matter what I heard in my head before. Those voices are now removed for the better voices.
Thank you.
Let's see. Last Horizons might be rough, but it's my go-to series when I want to be comforted. I can relate to Doomeden the most out of all your characters. He doesn't have any special powers. He just has his own philosophy and honor, something to strive for and live up to. I mean, Last Horizons will always have a special place in my heart. That was for I don't know if I've ever talked to Last Horizons with Andy because it was way before I think even Andy had started narrating at that point. That was back in 2016. I don't think you had jumped in at that point yet.
Is that where Doomeden comes from? Because that's like that's your tag.
Yeah, Doomeden is the main character's avatar in Last Horizons.
I didn't know that.
Last Horizons was basically my ode to my old gaming group, the Bananas.
Nice.
It came down to basically in 30, 40 years from now when we're 70, 80 years old, if they actually had fully immersive gaming, because I'm still like friends with a good number of my old WoW buddies. Would we be able to jump into a young avatar bodies and go off and have another adventure when we're 70 or 80? Would we do that? And I was like, yeah, we totally do that. So that was the whole point behind Last Horizons was old people wanting to get one last hurrah in, with whatever else life throws at them. So spoilers, if you don't want to know about more about Last Horizons, turn your damn headphones off for a minute. Main character is actually dealing with medical issues that gets discussed as the series goes on. So it really is one last hurrah for him. He knows that life is finite for him specifically. Not I know I'm going to die in 20 years, but more like I know I'm going to die soon.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an ode to my friends, but also the idea of when you're looking down the barrel at that point, and you can have one last thing to really grasp onto. Why wouldn't you? It was also the fact that at the time, there wasn't a lot else out in lit RPG that wasn't young male solo protagonist. And Last Horizons is basically geriatric 70-year-old couple with their best friend who then gather their other friends to go off and do this immersive game because nobody was even touching on anything like that at the time. So it will always have a special place in my heart for that reason, which is why I'd like to eventually see it get cleaned up and thrown back out there. But like I said, it's painful to read. Andy, what voice do you use that is the hardest to perform? Oh, I can actually answer that one probably. Floss. Go ahead, Andy.
Floss. It's Floss. Floss is a big old man's man dude. He's a king. He's based off Alexander the Great kind of thing. Like he's this very, very huge personality, and he has one of the most taxing voices because everything he says is like a friggin' shout. He shouts everything. Everything sounds like a proclamation from a mountaintop. He's always very grandiose and very like he has a big presence to him. So that Floss, man.
So Paul says, Andy question, and this is a narrator question for you. Do narrators get paid a flat rate per book, which obviously would be negotiated, or do you get it based off of pages read somehow, like KU versus buying the book?
No, we get typically there's two different payment structures that are the most common, and then a third one that's kind of a hybrid of the two. We either get per finished hour, which is basically if it's a 12-hour audiobook, we get paid for 12 hours. And we'll have a rate that is our per finished hour rate. Excuse me. How long it takes us to record that doesn't matter. It's just we get paid per finished hour. Or if you're working through ACX or very limited publishers, you can do things like royalty share agreements where it's like a deferred payment, where basically it's I will do the book now, I will front the editing costs, and then I will split the royalties with you going forward. So I'm gambling that everything, I'm going to make sure, and I'm hoping that the book does well so I can make my money back on that. And then there's the third version, which is like royalty share plus, which is per finished, a small per finished hour rate that helps to cover the editing cost. A lot of people choose to do like half of the editing. So it's considered basically full half and half. Like everybody's paying half and then everybody gets half of the proceeds for it. But everyone has different ways for it. And in certain cases, royalty share is super viable and it's a huge deal to get royalty share. In other cases, it's a massive gamble. In some genres, it's a huge gamble to do royalty share. You may never, I have books I've never been paid for from royalty share from early on. So, excuse me. You just take that risk to put your name out there and to build your portfolio and stuff. But primarily, if you're working with things like publishers and stuff, you're probably working a per finished hour rate, and that is negotiated with each person and each publisher and each author kind of thing.
So from the author standpoint, when you approach the narrators, you're offering them a contract based on A or B or C, but C is, I would say, very rare, honestly. Yeah. Most people, if most authors, if they're going out and doing the book themselves, are probably trying to get per finished hour, because then all the profits that come back are them. They're outlaying to begin with, but now all profits are solely theirs. If you do royalty split, I have no outlay. Andy's going to cover the editing and stuff that she has to do, but then 50% of all profits are split evenly between the two of us. Now, for most people, if they're doing per finished hour, are looking at, okay, I might, I'll pick a number, and it's going to be high, because I know narrators have been upping their rates of late, especially like with dual narration and stuff going on. So if it's like $500 per finished hour, and it's a 12-hour audiobook, you're looking at $6,000 outlay on costs for an author doing per finished hour. That's a chunk. Yeah, you're probably got something going for you before you're kind of funding that out and hoping to get the profits back. Um, now, if you're doing royalty split, now she's paying her editor whatever she's paying, and she's gonna slowly recoup that off profits. But all I'm getting is profit. It's half of what profit could be, but it's all profit because I haven't outlaid anything. That isn't, like she said, a gamble for her because if the book sucks for whatever reason and doesn't make back costs for her, she's in a deficit for editing costs. And even if it makes back editing costs, then will it ever make enough to make up the differences if she had gotten per finished hour?
Yeah, it's editing is for me editing's 125 per finished hour. So it has to make that 125 per finished hour, and then it has to make enough that I can pay my light bill, because then I'm just black. Then it's just in the black. I would like it to be in the green, basically.
Yeah, you would like to make a profit, not just eke by.
Yeah. The light bill still needs to be paid, so we want it to sell more than just the editing costs. Yeah.
So a lot of younger authors, if they're not going with a publisher, if they're not going with Podium and whatnot, because if I go with Podium, I am basically signing a contract saying that I'm getting X back, and it's out of my hands. Here's the book. I'm done. I have no other input on this. They might be like, there's a couple pronunciations we're curious about, but normally it's out of my hands. I hand it off. I'm done. Where with Andy, like she goes, how in the fuck do you say zilf? It has no vowels, Daniel.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a little back and forth where she wants to know how is that supposed to be pronounced. Or are your dwarves are based off Germanic people and not Scottish? What kind of fucked up dwarves do you got, buddy? There's back and forth. With a publisher, there's not. So a lot of just starting out authors might go with a publisher, just because then they just hand it off. I'm done. I'll get something back from it. It might not be a great amount, but it's all profit, and I don't have to try to find a narrator. I don't have to worry about how it's going to sound. Now, if they're confident, they can try to go a royalty split and get a narrator interested. And now, okay, at least you're going to make more that way than you will with a publisher. Trust me, you will. Or if you have money, you can be like, okay, per finished hour, I know you normally say 500, but can I get you down to 450? Because as a struggling, starving artist, you could try to negotiate it. Or in my case, when we were going back all the way with Binding Words 1, and I was doing per finished hour with an individual, and I was like, yeah, no, you're really worth more than that. I want to pay you more. No, I'm not that good. And eventually I was just like, you know what? I want to make sure she gets paid what she's worth. So I'm not doing per finished hour with you anymore. So you can keep making the money you deserve, and you will take it, and you will like it. And I keep teasing her that one of these days I'm going to sneak in I'm going to do a share plus with her.
And I will deny it.
We both know you don't look at it.
That's the
you wouldn't
problem.
you wouldn't find out until after the book was done, and then you'd be like,
I'd hit the purple button and go, why did that look different?
He fucking did. And then every book after that, she'd be like, hang on.
Yeah, and search it.
So there's some back and forth depending on which side you're on. As a narrator, you're judging do I get paid up front to make sure I cover costs, or do I take the gamble that it will be worth splitting later? So.
Yeah, and it's a case by case basis. Like, working with Daniel is a huge honor, and the fact that he does royalty share with me is actually that's a big deal. Like, that's a very kind thing for him to do, because the viable decision is to do per finished hour. Like, that's the more money centric decision.
Well, yeah, I'd make more.
Yeah. So that would be the better financial decision, to give me a flat rate. But Daniel and I have a partnership, and we always have, and that's been something that's been really awesome to have. So I hugely appreciate that.
Well, it was also the fact that she wouldn't let me pay her per finished hour rate that I thought she was worth at the time. She has since finally, after years of pulling teeth with her, decided that she is worth more than she originally started out as. But I still don't think she charges what she should. So
I get in trouble with other narrators at times because I don't charge enough.
Value yourself enough.
I just like working with people. But the other issue is if you're in really successful audio genres, like lit RPG and harem and stuff are juggernauts for audio. Like they're amazing for audio. There are genres out there that just don't do as well in audio, or they're really flooded and it's hard to get seen. Like trad romance is like that, where it's like really hard to get seen. It's so flooded. Royalty share is a lot more dicey there. If you like, it's not a gamble to do royalty share with Daniel. It would be a gamble to do royalty share with a lot of different authors that are not in the genres we're in. Game lit and lit RPG and a lot of sci-fi and fantasy are very audio centric. They're very big with audio, but not all genres are like that. So it creates unique arguments among the communities and stuff, because it causes fights and stuff, because there's always this is the smart financial decision. Yeah, but this is my business decision because of XYZ. So it causes interesting discourse all the time.
Well, as I've stated on the record multiple times, I don't go into audio trying to make money. It's a fraction of what I make off my ebooks. I go into it for the people who need audio to listen to, and also to keep a good friend employed for the foreseeable future. So
And I hugely appreciate it.
I
And
would
yeah,
I would
that's
literally
correct,
make,
Paul. He's worth it.
thinking about it, I would make way more money if I didn't.
Yep.
I like Andy too much.
I keep telling him.
Daniel sex scenes are part of the story and never gratuitous. I thank you, Paul. It's nice to know other people see that. Paul also asks, what do audio editors do? Do they just listen and critique? Do they actually make edits?
Do not critique, actually. They just make edits. They'll remove extraneous spacing sometimes. They'll remove clicks, pops, weird noises. Anything that happens that's like that pulls you out of the audio experience. Weird little blips and stuff. Like my cat purred in the background of one of the books this year, and my mom called me and was like, why is there a motor running in the back of your audio for a couple minutes? Like it was just like a minute here and a minute there. It was like 2 times. And I'm like, what do you mean a motor running? She's like, I pulled it out, but do you know what that might have been? And I'm like, no. Was it like a cat purring? And she's like, yes, it was like a cat purring. And I'm like, that would be Maeve. That would be the kitten who started purring and then was not allowed in the booth anymore after that. I did not know that slipped through. So they do stuff like that. Or if there's type noises, that kind of thing, they take all that out. And then they fix spacing and stuff like that every once in a while.
So does Hayes help you find better methods of sounding like you're murdering people?
Not specifically, but that's a pretty solid idea, actually. Hayes does help me through with characters sometimes. If I'm having trouble, if I get stuck on one, I'll go out and talk to him for a little bit and just bang my head against the wall and talk to him about it. Just having a sounding board to work something out that's a single focused point. Working on Discord helps a lot with that, but one of the issues with Discord is the fact that if I start asking for help on Discord, I get help from 30 different people all at once, and it'll get out of hand real fast. So I need more focused help usually in those instances. So I'll go talk to Hayes, bounce some ideas off of him, and then come back and figure out what I need to do.
My mother asks, Andy, how and why did you get started doing this? And bless your mom, doing work is the best thing to take your mind off of things. And I really appreciate her editing my works.
Aw, thank you. How and why did I get started doing this? I was a vocal major in college. Hayes came across Other Life Dreams by William D. Arend. Got in contact with Jeff Hayes because of that. Will suggested that I try narration because I was a vocal major, and that I had switched to a theater major with an art minor. And I had basically, I was disabled and I was trying to figure out what to do with my life because I couldn't do what I was doing anymore. And so I tried out, I basically wasn't sure if I wanted to do it, started auditioning, sent my audition off to Jeff Hayes, which is hilarious because I know that now that's like one of the biggest dick things to do. You shouldn't do that. But I sent my stuff to Jeff Hayes and was like, can you please tell me if this is worth my time or not? Can you tell me if I'm okay? And he gave me a really honest critique. It was really well thought out. It was a really nice thing to do. Jeff's a great guy. And from that, I took that information to heart, bought all new equipment, all new stuff, financed a sound booth, set up all my shit, and that's the rest is history at that point. Like I hit the ground hard. I do good with fire at my back. So having that booth financed was I need to make this viable very quickly because I need to pay for this sound booth. I need to pay for this. So that put fire under me, and it was my mom's name on the line because my mom is super supportive and she is the one who co-signed for it. And it was all right, I got to do it now. And so I hit the ground hard and just ran from there. So
And look at you now.
it's a pretty big distance. I still have a ways to go and I still have a million and one things to learn, but I'm happy with the distance that I've come so far.
I'm just saying, look at the first sound booth you had to the constructed basement sound booth you're in now. I mean,
My studio? Yes.
Yeah.
That I can spin around in and have room and I have a whole
Yeah.
desk. And
you
stuff.
don't bump the wall by shifting slightly.
Yes. I went from a 4x6 sound booth to a 9x12 studio that's fully padded and insulated and stuff. Except for that one square that keeps falling off behind me right now. It's still there, luckily.
There are a couple of people who want to make sure that you double tap when you start in on Antecedents Legacy because they really want to see you struggle with the alien names.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Construction Noise. Nice to meet you.
Son of a bitch. Get to figure out how to do that. Yeah, I will make sure that everybody can tune in for that. I will ping, and I will have Daniel ping, and we will all ping so everyone can know what it's like when Andy struggles for 4 hours on one name. Oh, I wish I was joking.
Yeah.
It's so real.
Just remember, you will, if everybody pings, you'll end up with the Scottish Russian submarine captain.
Yep.
You have to have one ping otherwise.
Yep.
He's amazing. He's a legendary Russian submarine captain. He sounds Scottish.
Exactly.
Poor Marjorie. Now she's got all new things to have anxiety about. I mean, every time someone shows up, I almost feel bad for her at this point, but at the same time, it's actually funny to me that anytime I write that scene, it's Sean showing up and Marjorie just being in the front room, just trying to relax and have some tea and
just existing. Just trying to have a peaceful afterlife, Daniel. Can't you let the lady die in peace? Nope.
Andy, if you do make a Damn It Daniel reel, I will have to make it a damn it button for you that randomizes one for the voices for you.
Okay. It'll be a new Joffrey. I have Joffrey that sits on my desk. He's a screaming goat. So when certain things happen, the goat screams. So I could have one that's just damn it, Daniel.
All the different damn it Daniels, damn it DJs, different voices, inflections.
Yep.
Which random one will I get this time?
Yep.
Just that big red easy button so you can just slap it.
Yes.
I don't normally discuss cash, Evangel, so I'm gonna skip your question asking about that because there's some things you just don't ask people about how much they make off of things.
It's also different across the board and stuff. Like everybody has different negotiated
it was specifically off of my books. So
oh yeah, no,
profits from my books. I'm not. Yeah. I don't go into it.
To be quite frank, I don't know. My checks are all blumped anyway, so I would have to go in and I'd have to go in and parse ACX numbers, which is similar to trying to differential calculus. So fuck no, I don't even know honestly. And also, thank you, Vicky.
I am slowly making my way forward to catch things up. Is ACX trying to wait for the new year to release new material? No, Mom. They get bogged down because a lot of people push their books right near the holidays because holiday money is a thing. People are getting gift cards and everything else. So the system just gets a back pile of things. We put AR5 out. I want to say it was the 5th. I think it was the 5th of December when we handed it over. We will probably see it. They should have it out by Monday. They won't because of holidays, but we'll probably see it before the end of the month. I would say, even with the backlog they got going. Technically, they say that it'll take 2 weeks, 10 business days. So it would be the 19th. It would be this coming Monday. It won't be.
It won't be. Daniel and I have bets on it being probably the last week of December or right before. Like it's
Yeah.
going to come out probably right
What-
after
what-
Christmas.
It'll either come out it'll either come out right after Christmas or it'll tick into the new year, which is,
Mhm.
like I said, one of the reasons we're like, yeah, don't push and strain yourself going into your vacation trying to get AR6 because we have no idea when, if, or how they'll finally get around to releasing AR5. It might also just get lost in their system for a month and a half.
Yeah, they've done that before. Specifically with one of your books. That was a lot of fun. That was a good month and a half. What was that? Was that Lux voice? Excuse me.
There was
sorry,
one
early on.
that they sat on for like nearly 2 months.
Mhm. I
And
think it was
eventually
the
they
fourth
were
one.
like, yeah, sorry about that. We'll put it out tomorrow.
Yeah, it was literally it just gotten lost in their system. Also, people are petitioning for a Damn It Daniel coin, and I am fully in support of this.
Well, because I have my challenge coins. So for each of my series, I think I've sent you some of my challenge coins. So
yeah, I have a couple of
I don't know if I did Damn It Daniel on one side, I'd have to do something on the other. I would probably see about getting Andy's approval because I think she has an icon for Mouthy Maven.
I do. The little rebel
I would-
fist. It's for rebel
It would
art, yeah.
it would be the other side. I think would have to be that then. It would specifically be Andy's challenge coin. I wouldn't push that one. That'd be something for her. So if you're like a super fan of Andy, maybe you could win a challenge coin from her or something. Because I specifically don't sell mine. I've sold I have t-shirts for sale and stuff that I still have up on the store that I'm slowly working through.
Can't
My
see
challenge coins. The nope, can't see it.
There we go.
Spork around and find out
Find out, yeah.
is the t-shirt for the for my Antecedents Legacy series coming out. I had a small run of them printed up for my officers, and of course Andy because she's gonna record it. So some of us already have the t-shirts. I wanted to make sure we represented
Yeah.
the books to come. So I
Yeah,
asked her if she wanted the spork or if she wanted the Aether shield, and she's like, "I'm totally wearing the spork."
he was like,
fair enough.
or I mean, if you're going glam or something because you're going to be on camera, and I'm like, fuck that noise. Makeup is for glam. T-shirts are for fun. Okay, it's not like anyone
Well,
can see my.
I
butt.
did-
I'm wearing a onesie on the bottom, guys. Okay, so
Well, I mean, pics or it didn't happen, Andy.
I can't. There's
I think
literally just a
at
onesie
this-
from the waist down.
At this point in my head, you're just wearing the shirt.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Accurate.
I think that's actually how you record too. So that's
Yeah,
just
So
my head canon.
I also
Oh,
have a blanket.
For those people who haven't heard, I've gotten my new tattoo. So I
Yay!
now have the Aether shield to go with binding words on one arm, which offsets Last Horizons, Alpha World, and the Sharing is Caring from Apocalypse Gates. My next tattoo is actually going to be Resurrection Quest, the series we don't talk about. My bomb of a series is actually going down on my calf. Since I wear jeans all the time, it'll never be seen. Kind of like the series never sold. So it seemed fair.
It's sad and both. It's poignant and sad at the same time.
Well, I point out the fact though that if Resurrection Quest hadn't bombed, we wouldn't have Aethers. Aethers is what took over that slot.
Yeah, that's true.
But Christ, did that crush me when that happened? That series came out and it was just like blah, and I'm like, oh fuck, this is it. If you ever
all
want
over.
a jolt, if you ever want a jolt of imposter syndrome, have a book bomb. It was like, oh god, this is really it. It's all over, guys. I'll try another series, but this might be it. I might have to go find a job again. Fuck. And then the first Aethers came out, and it was like massive success. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. The next book is gonna fail though.
Aethers was a juggernaut. Well, and then Lux Voice did really well too. So it's almost like you might know what you're doing or something. Like,
No, actually, if you compare them head to head, Aethers crushes Lux Voice. Aethers
Oh, yeah.
is Aethers
Aethers is great.
even
Yeah.
even against
Done well.
Alpha World, which had been my best-selling series to date. Aethers at this point crushes Alpha World. It's not even close anymore. Especially since I actually have 5, 6 books in the series now, where Alpha World ended at 8. At this point it just runs away with it. It's sad and funny at the same time. Let's see. I answered that question. No, see, if Andy wanted to do the Damn It Daniel coins, I would help facilitate them, but that would be totally in her hands to do whatever she wanted with them. I wouldn't. I already have like 9 coins that I give away, so
Y'all,
I wouldn't take that one on myself.
I can't even keep a Patreon updated, much less try and handing out coins. No.
I don't know. I'm really interested in this idea of a Patreon chapter a week type of thing.
It's not my
that you were
Patreon.
talking about.
It's
I know,
it's
no.
somebody
I'm
else's.
just talking about. I'm just thinking about diversifying my Patreon now. Get Andy a chapter, like 4 chapters a month for her to record to just throw up on Patreon. A slow trickle Andy release on Patreon.
It would be such a nightmare to do for a standard book. It would be a mess. That's for a web serial, so it works. But
Well, about to say, have you read my series? My series are basically web serials, Andy.
It's true. They are slice of life.
They are slice of life. They are so web serial. It's not even funny. The only difference is I don't jump between characters like most web serials. If you look at most web serials, like the first 50 chapters, they're like main character, main character, main character, main character. And then somewhere around 30 to 50, it's like secondary character. Because like the author is just like, I need a change of pace. And then that's where you have like the big diverse cast that web serials seem to bloom out into. So that's like the one major difference between like my slice of life writing style and a web serial, because they just go on. The series is the story's there. It's gonna just meander on in its own way. We share that in common.
I greatly enjoy it.
Where was I? Okay, skip. Should we put bets on how far behind time they are? Well, you wrote that comment at 7:01. It is now 7:51.
Hey, 40 minutes?
Standard live chat, baby. Standard live chat.
Well,
Andy's
it's times 2 right now, so
Andy's like, sure, I'll do a live chat with you. I'm like, okay, but you should understand, it's like normally like 2-3 hour long, because I meander. She's like, yeah, I've watched your live chats before. I'm like, it's only going to be worse with you there, because now there's 2 of us that are just going to ramble.
Yeah. I am restraining myself with everything in me to not keep chattering, and I'm still failing miserably at times.
No, that's fine. If you have something to talk about, go ahead. I'm just slowly looking through for things to nudge about. We do have. I should shout out to. We have a mod who is starring things, so I make sure I tag those questions. So thank you for your time and effort, Jen Bean, who might or might not be in a series. I don't know.
The one and only Jen Bean. Fuck yeah.
Who sounds nothing like Jen Bean and looks nothing like Jen Bean. So funny story for those people who are wondering. I asked Jen, do you mind if I use your name, because I have this character, book 1. It's going to be someone he fights, and that was my whole thought process, guys. It's hard when you're an after action reporter. You don't know what your characters are going to fucking do. I'm like, okay, so fight, good fight, check up, no hard feelings, because we need someone who doesn't have hard feelings after a fight is over. And then I get into writing book 2, and Jen Bean's like, lost puppy. Gregory, I want to follow you. And Yuki's like, back off my man, bitch.
What
and Jen's
the
like,
fuck off?
Jen's like, okay, I understand. You could totally be first wife, but you don't mind if I hang around, right? I did not intend, when I introduced Jen Bean in book 1, for Jen Bean to have the role she has now. My characters do their own shit. I just tell you what they've done. So I do occasionally look at Jen and go, So, has your family read the series? Because if that's awkward, I'm really sorry. I have a question, but it pertains to AR6. Should I refrain to avoid spoilers since the book just came out? We normally hold back from books that just got released. If it's a generic question, you're not looking to dig too deep, I might answer it. If it gets too spoilery, I just bypass it. But normally, like the book that just came out, I don't talk too much about because I do know I have like audio files here that are like, well, I haven't read it yet, so I try not to spoil too much. But yeah, you can ask the question in chat, and like I said, I might just bypass it if I think it's too much. So, finished Fights with Monsters yesterday. I had a real hard time with He Fights with Monsters books 4 through 6, the Earth arc. That was hard for me. The story drug. But books 7 and 8 that are out now have picked right back up to where books like 1 through 3 were. So I enjoy that. I mean, books 4 through 6 had to happen. I mean, there's major character growth in there, but it was also hard at times to stay with the story. But once again, web serial. These things you have to expect. Andy has made me cry as well. I understand, Ren. I understand. This is the fun thing is I catch up on comments from like an hour ago where people were like replying in real time. I'm just gonna circle back to this now because things. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and ask you an off tangent question because I saw another author, Eden Red, post on Twitter the other day. One of her audiobooks just came out. Like the first 2 reviews were like flat 1 stars, just lambasting the series. I mean, the series is named "My Girlfriends Are Pirate Elves," and Eden Red writes books with a lot of spiciness in them. And the 1-star reviews were basically like, "How dare this book be what she normally writes?" And I was
Yeah.
I don't know if you look at your reviews anymore, do you?
No, I
Okay.
don't. Hayes actually looks at them for me and tells me if there's anything I need to look out for, and he tells me if there's any particularly nice ones. But I will spiral real hard over negative reviews.
I understand. I check like the first week a book is out just to make sure that Amazon's not fucking me over on reviews because they've done that before. But I try not to get too in depth about them just for that same reason. But she posted them up on Twitter, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, hun. People are people wherever you go.
Yep.
You can't get away from it. I mean, if they didn't know what they were getting into, I mean, they easily could have kicked open Amazon and looked at the reviews for the book if they were that uncertain. But with a anime style cover and a book that says "My girlfriends are pirate elves," I'm not sure exactly what you were expecting going into it.
Did you think that was going to be War and Peace?
Yeah, it's like, but it made me wonder.
It's fun. You should have fun with it.
It made me wonder from your point of view whether or not you would actually whether or not you went over your own reviews anymore.
No, Hayes just did it actually probably 2 weeks ago or so. It was about 2-3 weeks ago. He was looking something up because I had asked him about something specific. And so he looked on Audible for something and then got off on a tangent where he was looking at my reviews. And he came in and he was like, "Hey, just for the record, I checked up on all your reviews and yada yada." I actually subscribe to something called Neurotic, which does like it aggregates all the reviews out for me and stuff. But there is literally no way to do anything on Audible. You cannot complain. There's no one to write to. There's no way to argue. There's no way to do anything. So if someone writes just a massively libelous, like bullshit review about you or says like something horribly offensive or something, can't do anything. So there's literally nothing to be done other than just writing general Audible support. Good luck with that. So it's just waiting for heartbreak. There'll be a million great comments. I have incredibly supportive fans, but I am like many other artists and massively struggle with imposter syndrome and insecurity. So it takes one comment. It takes one person saying, I don't understand what the big deal is. I don't understand why people like Andrea Parsons. She's a piece of shit narrator. She's too dramatic. She drags when she speaks, yada, yada, yada. And that will haunt me for the next 3 weeks where I think about everything I do wrong and how slow I talk. And
I don't
it's not worth
I
it.
don't I don't go that far.
Excuse-
Earlier back like Alpha World days, so first 2 years of writing, um, I had a couple of people, same book actually, same I think it was AR4. Oh, not AR, sorry, Alpha World 4. I had 2 reviews. It's the same book. One called me a chauvinist and one called me a misogynist. Or sorry, misogynist and one called me a feminist lover. And I was just like, 2 different people, 2 polar opposite ideas. I'm just like, well, I must have done something right if you guys can't agree. But yeah, I stopped looking at reviews for that reason. I would spiral for about a day. But after I slept, the reset button got hit, my memory ejected it, and I never thought about it again.
Oh, yeah.
Unless I had to go back and look at it again, and that was terrible. To answer a question, Hondo stepped away from Harem.
Yeah.
I think he stepped away from his pen name entirely. I don't if he is writing anything else at this point. I don't know. I reached out to him a couple of times and never got a reply back, which was too bad because
My mom talks to him on a regular basis. He's writing in other genres now.
I reached out to him with the limited access I had because I was really wanted to see if I could fund maybe one more Fight Town out of him because I really enjoyed Fight Town, and like I said, I never got a reply from him, so which is too bad because I really loved the direction he took Fight Town in. It was he called it his ode to Aethers, and I was like, cool. I actually talked with him a lot when he was writing Fight Town 2. So
I had gone back and forth with him right at the beginning of it, like right before he started it. We had like a lengthy conversation about a bunch of different stuff going into it too. So I was really invested in that one. He actually tapped me to narrate that one, but he couldn't. The schedule didn't work out.
Yeah, it was. I would have. I would like to talk to him at some point if it was possible to quasi fund him, help support the funding of a Fight Town
He's a good
3.
writer.
So, I think for me, because I've read most of what he's written, Fight Town I think was his best work. Just from I could be biased because he really said it was an ode to Aethers, and that really made me go aww. But I really like how he was slowly building things in Fight Town. So that's just me. I would love to see a map of Aether's revival. I'm sure you would. I don't do maps. As soon as I put it down on paper, it's stone. My quasi mapped that I keep in my head is solid enough, but also fluid enough. Now, for people who have tried to map out, because I don't give hard numbers, so if you're giving a hard hand sketch map, here be monsters because you have nothing to fill in, I'm fine if people do that. I will never verify or not whether that is correct. So, but I don't do maps for a reason because once I write them down, it's locked in stone, and I might need something different later. So for AR, we know that the Northern Wilds is of course the north of the Empire. We have Boldoon to the east, we have Lamaze to the south, and we have Kraga to the west. And we know that Alturas is in the northwest fringe. So they're in that little crook where the Northern Wilds and the ass end of Kraga come together. And that's the most map you'll ever get from me. Let's see. Now I will scroll down again. Sounds like Andy needs to DM a D&D game. I think Andy would do amazing, but Andy is not quite yet pulled the trigger on her DMing as far as I am aware.
Yeah, I have Sunless Citadel prepped for Skaz and Haze, so I'll probably run that during the break, but that's it.
Man, hang on, are you doing the 5th edition revised Sunless Citadel? because I remember when that came out in third edition, and that was a blast with third edition.
Yeah, they just basically re-released them all. They didn't really
Yeah.
change them very much at all. So Sunless Citadel is a great like 1 through 3 adventure. So and it's a pretty relatively straightforward dungeon crawl, so it's not a whole bunch of stuff I can fuck up. So
Do you find yourself making more bloopers for certain characters than others?
oh yeah. Yeah. And I think it happens at different points in the story too. Like I noticed that each of the Aethers books got blooper tracks, like hardcore, good, like solid blooper tracks. It was harder for me to pull bloopers from Binding Words because we're in a really serious part of the story and there's a lot of really important things going on. So it feels less like giggly, goofy, silly, you know. But then there's still moments where that happens.
Like Helga.
Fucking Helga! We will fight in the fields with camel toe. It does not matter. Some lady adjusted her skirt. It was the secretary adjusted her skirt, and Helga was like, "She is not a warrior." And it made me laugh so hard because it was like, if she was a warrior, she would fight with that wedgie.
Which was the only blooper you pulled for that book.
Yeah, I didn't really get any
So
other
so
ones.
it didn't go on the book. She gave it to me though, and I posted it up on my Patreon because it was hilarious. Actually, your best bloopers are for me are bloopers like that where you just go off tangent in character voice.
Yeah.
Elsa shitting in eggs, Helga fighting with camel toe. Those for me are just the funniest bloopers because it's like what would maybe like the multiverse version of that character just going completely off tangent. Yuki telling Jen Bean to back off her man bitch from AR2 blooper. It's you know like maybe Yuki was really thinking, oh, this bitch is pushing up on my man right now.
Exactly.
I love those bloopers more than anything else. So
Yes.
how do you modulate your voice in so many different ways? Is it all you, or did you get tech help?
I'll answer a little bit earlier. It's all me. Every once in a while, like on a very, very, very rare occasion, I'll drop something a semitone if it's like a big demon voice, but I don't think that's even happened since like the Power Mage books. So like there was literally a demon called Papter that needed to be modulated down a step because they just kept like all it said was like no, yes, go. Like it was just weird one word things. You can modulate that. The second you start saying multiple words, it sounds weird. It sounds like a voice changer and I don't like it. So it's me.
Captain 2 says, Andy, I just want you to know that I have picked up audiobooks that I normally wouldn't have because they were narrated by you.
Thank you. That's a huge compliment, and it is not a responsibility that I take lightly. I try to pick good books. I back up the books that I do because I want to make sure that they're good for people to listen to who follow my stuff.
Muggle says, Andy is so good that I sometimes catch myself trying to pause the live stream thinking that I'm actually listening to a book.
I understand that one.
And then she gets stuck on one line trying to find the right emphasis. That for half an hour she's going over the same line, and at some point you just want to be like, Andy, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just give it your best and then move past it.
Just accept
You're
one
killing,
of them.
You're killing yourself right now,
Yeah.
hon.
Yeah. But no. I've read this 32 times and I am positive that the 33rd time will be the time that I like it.
Yeah. So sometimes though, it's just like, I feel bad. She struggles so hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's
that 99% mental.
I'm about to say you do that on when picking character voices sometimes though too. Like
It's
like we
usually,
talked about
yeah.
with Arya, where you were like, no, fuck it, I'm doing this. Hey, wait,
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
By the way, my favorite character voice that I never heard in one way, but then I heard it and I was like, okay, I like that, was still Ryan Watercolor. The quasi Jamaican Ryan Watercolor.
Ryan Watercolor. Yeah.
Yeah. The World of Warcraft troll voice. I was just like,
yeah. I have
didn't
headcanon for that. Yeah.
I didn't hear that voice in my head when I wrote the character, but after Andy voiced the character, I was like, and now he's Jamaican. I'm just running with it.
Yeah, people will frequently be like, does the authors tell you what to do? Does Daniel tell you what to do, or is that something you did yourself? And I'm like, Daniel, no, this is my fault. If you don't like it, it's 100% my fault.
I have
Daniel
told
gives me
Andy
free reign.
I have told Andy 100 times. She has free reign to do whatever she wants.
Yeah.
The only time I normally step in when she's like, do you have I'm having a hard time here, which she does
Mhm.
very infrequently. Or if she's, like I said, she's going over a voice 16 times and she's just not finding it. And I'm like, okay, Andy, stop. This is what I thought of originally. Does this help you? And then sometimes she's like, no, Daniel, it doesn't help. Like when I'm like, I hear this guy is like the posh English guy, and she's like, all of Aethers is like English inflection. I can't just be like, okay, Boldoon is suddenly high English. That doesn't work. I'm like, it's fair. It's fair.
The entire empire is English, Daniel. Okay, well, what about German? Could they be
Boldoon
German?
needs to be different then. Well, in my head canon, Boldoon was like posh English and like German kind of slapped together. So when she was struggling with the first guy who had some connection to Boldoon, I'm like, well, this is what she's like. No, that doesn't. I said, well, what about German then? Okay, I can work with that. So I think it was the leather worker in book 3 when they went to Water Rock. It was
Yeah.
Yukiko's teacher who
Yeah, that's what it was.
who had hints of Boldoon in his way
Mhm.
of speaking. So
Yep.
there was actually a line pulled from AR4. AR4. I removed a line from the book when Andy went to record it. And that dealt with Roshana's accent.
Oh, yeah.
Because you had already voiced Ling, who might have had some semblance down to Lamaze. But I hadn't stated that at the time. So you voiced Ling. And then I wrote in the book when I was writing the book, I wrote in without really considering it that Roshana's accent falls back to Ling because there's a bit of Lamaze to her. And when Andy went to record it, I was like, oh wait, no, that line needs to get yanked, and it's actually not in the updated ebook anymore because I update the ebooks after audio gets done. So that's why Roshana has a completely different accent because that is way more in line with what Lamaze should be than where Ling came. But Ling is still very Empire based, so the fact that her accent is so different actually works out.
Yeah.
I just had to remove the line that called back to they had similar accents.
Yeah. I basically bent Ling in the last book to try she's going through a slight, very, very slow evolution to try to make it sound a little more like Lamaze, just to try to get that in there when by the time Lamaze shows up and it becomes more of a thing in the story that Ling is tied to Lamaze, I'm like, okay, I want at least a little bit of that popping in there so that I can get it a little bit more similar.
I will give you warning, just like I've given you warning that Kroga is coming up in
Mhm.
AR7, so you have a chance to like brush up on that accent area because
Yeah.
it's not 100% slide over from Earth. It's just like Earth adjacent ish. So
Mhm.
here's a base and then fuck with it however you want. So when we get to Kroga and you go, oh, that's an X type of accent. Yes, specifically because I've had the chance to get Andy some warning ahead of time, so she has a year to maybe brush up on specific accents before we get there. I'm sure you're very curious about what that accent is going to be, Ekman, and I'm not telling you because I can say that. I wonder how Andy's gonna pronounce my family name. No vowels. That would be amazing. There's only one name I've put in the book that has no vowels, in Antecedent's Legacy, and it's the dead alien, and his name is it's ZLFTH.
Zilf. Zilf.
Zilf. Yeah, Zilf, Zilf.
Zilf.
However you want to like
Zilf.
slap that together.
Son of a bitch.
There's no vowels. So yeah. It gets said 12 times from like 3 different people.
Did you say VF?
ZLFTH.
Oh, okay. No V. Okay, good. I'm slightly
No V.
less offended then. I just didn't want I didn't want a V and an F together because I'm quite done with voiced unvoiced consonants. I don't want that anymore for a while.
There are I think 3 or 4 people that say the name. One of them being the main character. But so it shouldn't be too terrible. The one that you'll scream and complain about is the Kitsune's name being said like twice, because it's like that's not a word, and it's
My
like
name
12 it's 12 letters long, so it's like okay. And actually, I would accept that as the name.
just my name is
Seems legit.
just a bunch of noises. Just bang some pots together. It'll work out.
Well, Lost Phoenix, if you want to know if she'll get your family name correct, you could put it phonetically into the chat, and she'll probably see it, and then that would give her a chance to maybe get it correct. Otherwise, you get potluck like everyone else.
I will search for it and find out if it's a quote unquote known family name, and if there is an established pronunciation for it. If there is not, then it will be what I can guess.
So, Outlaw asks, "What did you think of the first book you ever read for Daniel?"
Oh, I
That
thought it
would
was
be
a blast. It would be
That was
AG.
AG1.
Mhm.
AG1.
It was super fun. I loved AG1. That was a great story. I loved Alvin. I loved Gothy. I was
You like-
Gothy at Dragon Con.
Yeah, there are pictures of that still out there with beer cups. Beer cups
Yep.
precariously balanced.
Yeah, the corset had pushed things up to being basically horizontal, so I could balance 2
shelf.
beer cups on my boobs.
And I have that picture. And I
Ridiculous.
have that picture.
Excuse me.
I also have somebody else who cosplayed as Gothy.
Yes.
So those pictures were put up on Facebook. So I've had Gothy twice done by people, which I thought was very nice. Must have resonated some with people because it got cosplayed a few times. Let's see. How do you keep track of voices for characters between books?
I keep track of them in their own separate song file. But they have their own file with with a track for each character, and I save vocal samples from each character. And I go through and listen to them if I need to know what they sound like.
That's a very weird question, and I'm not even sure what it's supposed to be, Rain. I know you have worked with Jeff Hayes, but have you ever worked with someone on East Coast?
Maybe like in person. They might mean like in person going into a studio.
Maybe, I don't know.
No, if that's the question, no. I've never worked in studio with anybody here. I had a couple offers for different stuff, but it ended up not working out. It was like right before COVID, and COVID hit, and then everything got canceled, and then it just never came back around again. So it's hard to I'm in Maine, yo. Like there's not exactly like a hub of vocal stuff out here. There's like a narrator retreat that happens down in Bar Harbor that hasn't happened again since COVID. So
Sage said, "My name is 90s internet modem connecting noise."
Oh, that'd be terrible.
Actually, I was just thinking your goat on the desk could actually get some use.
We'll just make Joffrey one of the voices.
What's their name? It's supposed to be a fox, not a goat.
Yes. My name is. It's pronounced with 4 L's.
That's amazing. I can actually see that though. That's the sad part. Uh, the screaming goat. Yep. I'm catching up. I'm only 30 minutes behind now, Andy. We're
Yeah, I
we're
know,
we're
right?
we're gonna make it. We can do it.
I'm glad it's like 11:20 and I'm sitting here yawning. Excuse
I
me.
know it happens when people listen to me. They get tired. That's why I can't
No,
narrate.
far from it.
DJ, have you given Andy a coin for every book she's worked on for you? Andy has gotten swag from me from every book she's done for me.
Hmm.
I am very upfront on giving back to the people who work for me.
Oh
Every
yeah,
single one of my officers, my moderators, my narrator, my editors, they get T-shirts, they get books, they get challenge coins. Why? Because they've already gone above and beyond having to deal with me, and then also, they did work.
I am spoiled rotten. Like Daniel just sends random presents with stuff. Like I got cookies a couple weeks ago. I get t-shirts all the time when he does runs of t-shirts. He sends me little baby Yoda stuff. Like Daniel likes to play that he's an asshole, but he's really not. He's a super nice guy. Like Daniel's a
Lies,
great guy.
lies. Don't listen. Lies.
I'm
I am a
spoiled rotten.
horrible ogre. It's in my name on Discord.
He's full of
How
shit is what he is.
how does
Full of
one
shit.
get a challenge coin? We're gonna just talk over Andy here and go past this thing where she's trying to give me positivity. I don't need that in my life. Oh, Christ. How does one get a challenge coin? I give them away as rewards during the live chats every month. So I have a moderator who's going through and taking names of people who've asked me questions or given me talking points. And at the end of it, I will go through and I will pull 5 random names from that list and then contact them via Twitch Messenger with a, hey, I need your address and which coin do you want. There are pictures of the challenge coins on my Discord, on my Facebook, and on my Twitter page. There's one for every series I have published. So you can, even Resurrection Quest, we try not to talk about that one though. Nobody wants that coin. So you get them from the monthly live chats and then the other giveaways I do a couple times a year for my full-time author anniversary, my published author anniversary. So lots of chances to win. I do not sell them. They're there for the diehard of diehards who want to sit here for 2.5 hours and then listen to me make Andy yawn.
Oh
Because
shit.
that is what I heard during the live chat. So that is now canon.
Oh, can I answer one of the questions that I saw roll through and I think might have gotten unintentionally
ahead.
misunderstood? Somebody asks if you have to have a degree to do narration. That I know of, there is no degree for like audiobook narration. There may be a couple of very specialized programs at a couple different colleges that do like voiceover focus for a theater major, but none that I can think of off the top of my head. I do not have a degree. I just went to college for theater and then I I was working and making money and that was taking time that the classes were starting to take away time from working and making money and I made a call basically that I just was going to start I threw myself into narration. So I do not have a degree and I'm afraid somebody thinks that I do. So I want to make sure. So it is there are plenty of narrators that have fine art degrees. There are plenty of narrators that have business degrees. So it's all over the place. There isn't really like a facility for it that tells you what to do. There's a lot of coaches out there though.
I thought you weren't supposed to get tattoos until a series was over. That was the original plan, Xerox, but then I was like, I appreciate every series I've ever published. So I was going to do them actually in order, which technically means I should have gotten Resurrection Quest before I got my shield, but I wanted to finish the forearm, so I got the shield first. So do you already plan where your various tattoos are going to go, or do you decide when it's time? I have ideas where all of them are going to go, and then I talk it over with the tattoo artist, who has a better idea of, like spatial placement and what will hurt like a son of a bitch, and you probably don't want it there. So it's a work in progress. This I enjoyed Resurrection Quest. It was different compared to Alpha World. I think everyone just expected harem or spicy content. Yeah, it was my first non-harem, actually non-romance. The 3 main characters in that series are complete and utter assholes. I know because they're friends of mine that I game with, based on real life people, like most people I write. And people did not care for them because they are unrepentant assholes. And I can't blame them. I know the individuals they're based on, and you are 100% absolutely correct. For the series we don't talk about for a reason. And people make me think about it again, and then I think about it, and then the pain comes back, and it hurts. I always wondered how Andy would have done the ladies' voices in Alpha World. She would have rocked it. Peter Berkrot is a good narrator. Let's give credit where credit's due. He really pushed through the series, and I appreciate him for that. If I ever decided to go back and like get them re-narrated, I would totally be like, Andy, here's 8 books. You totally have time for this.
Sure,
So
why not?
we'll just fit them in. It'll be fine.
It'll work out. It'll be okay.
But honestly, yeah, and Andy doesn't have time for that stuff, and I probably wouldn't go back and get them redone. Getting audio redone is sunk cost, because then it's basically repaying a narrator for something that's already finished to put them back out.
The people who have already heard it will not rebuy it if they were just interested in hearing the story. The only people that would rebuy it are the people who are fans of the person who just re-recorded it, or people who are audiophiles and want to hear an alternate performance, which is a significantly smaller population than the people who want to hear the book for the first time.
Yeah,
So-
if that ever happened, I would totally have to pay Andy per finished hour to make sure she actually got paid for it. So, and I don't think Andy only reads what she's working on, correct? You don't really read a
Primarily.
whole lot. You don't read a whole lot for just like personal fun.
I do, but it's like random shit. Like an elderly lady is up to no good about an elderly serial killer. Like I read other shit a lot, like that, just like random off the wall stuff, role playing books.
Okay.
and-
I say you don't delve through the genre looking for
Not
different
anymore.
things.
Yeah, not anymore.
Gotta have your out time where it's away from what work actually is.
That's more what it comes down to. Is I just sit there I just stew on work until midnight if I do that. So I'm a
So-
worrier.
So, question: I know you're going on vacation. Would you like to get Antecedents Legacy early so you can read through it during your vacation?
Sure, if you'd like to hand it off to me.
Long before you ever get around to recording it. This
I will.
This way you.
I will say
this
I'll
way you
probably have
know
to
the
reread
pain
it
that's
closer.
involved with. Yeah, but this way you might know the pain that's ready for you when you get there.
It's so dangerous.
She will be like, "Okay, it's time to record this. I remember this part."
I remember
you, Daniel.
this. Damn it, Daniel! You'll just hear it.
I mean,
echoing.
That's all I can see. Which of your series would you recommend me to start with, DJ? It really depends on what you're looking for, Ren. I cover a kind of a swath. There are a couple things that can go across most series. There's going to be harem. That's just I've lived in a polyamorous relationship for decades now, with multiple partners. So I write what I know. And so there's going to be harem in like all but one of my series, except for the one book of Resurrection Quest. There's a harem. It might take 3-4 books to get there, but it normally gets there. It's slice of life, which means it's slow paced, based on what's going on in everyday life around the characters as they try to get through things. Not a whole lot of let's go defeat the demon lord, high fantasy type of things. If you're okay with those two things, most of my books are fine. And then it just comes down to what flavor you're looking for. If you want something that's a little more risque and spicy, Apocalypse Gate, which deals with a death game where you have one life and then you're dead, and is based around a zombie invasion that has amazing, robust goth girl as the main female lead.
She's
That's
triple C thick and she's amazing.
she's ultra thick.
Mhm.
I have an Old West series called Lux Voice, which deals with a fantasy multiverse version of the Old West, where the main character is literally the prophet or voice of luck, who is trying to bring back the gods to a world that's slowly devolving into death and ruin. Aether's Revival is my best-selling series. It's a cultivation / Magic Academy smash up where the main character is literally it comes out in the end of the first book, so I don't think it's too big of a spoiler. He's basically the re-embodiment of a deceased god, the god of magic as it is. That's my best-selling series. Binding Words deals with Celtic mythology, so if you like Celtic mythology, that's something to look in. I have a lot of different offshoots, and I like to keep it that way. My next series to come out, of course, like I said, is science fiction / fantasy mashup. Because if you can take two things and make them one, why not do it? That's how you get peanut butter and chocolate, which, as we all know, is amazing. The nice thing about this is it's one of kind bounces around questions that are behind ones that are recent and got starred. I mean, it's true. It's true, Lost. I do kind of bounce all over the place. Patreon audio. I've sort of seen it done before. I got into audiobooks through an author reading his own books, releasing one chapter a week as a podcast. I mean, that's fair, Raph. There's always an audience for anything. I mean, if that was back before like the really big audio boom that's happened over the last 10 years, well, really over the last 8 years, I can definitely see that. I would say audio has really taken off over the last 6-7 years more than anything else.
Yeah.
Especially
it's off since I started, it's
Mhm.
amped up. It's been an exponential growth.
And it's going to be. More people have time to listen to an audiobook while they're driving or sitting at their desk going through spreadsheets than they have time to actually sit down and read a book.
Yeah.
And if you get the right narrator, it actually becomes like a living embodiment of something. And if
Yeah,
you
I
get the
think-
wrong narrator, then it's very dry and slow.
I think it's one of the things that's pushing audio forward is there is this kind of new wave of narration style where there is absolutely nothing wrong with the storyteller type, the reader type narrator that absolutely has a market. There's a lot of people who will only listen to that, but there is a new wave of kind of narrators that have been coming around in the last like 7-8 years. They existed very rarely before that, but they are more popular now, where it's people who are like me and like Jeff and like Mark Thompson and all of these people that like making funny voices and individual characters and really emotional dialogue and stuff. And that's all kind of that's not taught as the thing to do. So that's a recent thing, basically. So, and some people are resistant to it and other people really like it. So, but it seems to be it's putting audio in people's hands and it's putting books back in people's hands, which I am very happy for. I can't count the number of people that I've talked to that have messaged me that are like, I haven't read a book in 10 years, but I picked up audio for the first time 3 months ago and I've listened to 13 different books, and that makes me so happy. Anything that brings more people to reading, I'm happy about.
I would love to see Aethers as an anime. That would be amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I would totally push to have Andrea do at least one of the characters, if not all of them.
They would not do that, but I would love to play one of them. That'd be awesome.
I would she'd totally at least do one of them. I'd probably push for her as Yuki, if nothing else, just because she's really got a Yuki voice going for her. But that requires like a studio coming in and being like, yeah, we'd totally like to make this as an anime. Can we talk prices and stuff? And I'd totally do that. But honestly, I don't brown nose and shop myself around enough for that to really ever be a possibility. So.
And
if you guys have connections and can push them my way, feel free. I would love Netflix to come to me and offer me a 6-figure deal for something.
It hasn't happened for the people that are brown nosers. So I don't know who's going to break that mold first, but no one's been successful in getting one made. Animes are extremely expensive. So
I know there are a couple of authors, it is rumored, that are working on getting things turned into screenplays to shop them around. I don't have the time or effort to turn anything into a screenplay. So
no, I also think that that's probably not going to go anywhere.
Be very unlikely that it would ever happen for me. So it would literally take somebody who's like a higher up at Netflix reading my books and going, oh, I'm totally going to talk to this guy and see about getting this series. And I would be more than happy to do so. But honestly, it won't happen.
And if it did, they would probably strip out one of the core elements to try to make it more mainstream. They'd probably strip
Yeah.
the harem out of it.
And now it's not. Well, you just gutted half the book. Congratulations, sir. There are a couple of my series they could probably do it without too much flack back. Last Horizons, because that is literally a triad. One of the NPCs joins the couple. So you could probably get away with that in today's society without too much negativity coming back on
Mhm.
it. And Alpha World, since it is just the four of them, the harem is not nearly as big. Maybe there's a lot of good mental trauma that gets addressed in Alpha World too, so I can actually see that one possibly doing it. But honestly, my books will never be picked up. Would I like to see them that picked up? Hell yeah, I'd like to see them picked up. Will it ever happen? No. And if I ever got the option, I'd totally push Andy for one of the voices because she's already voiced them anyway. She already knows the characters, and they would be amazing. And then I would try so hard to get Ryan Reynolds to do another one of them,
Okay.
just so Andy could geek out so fucking hard.
The only one that would make me geek out harder would be Matt Mercer, and at that point, I would just
I'll get them
pass
both.
out.
I'll get them
My
both.
head would explode.
I'll get them both for you.
No, there are certain people in this world that I have decided that I can never meet, despite the area that I work in, and the fact that if I was better about personal promotion, I would probably be in a place where I could feasibly talk to these people or feasibly do these things. Brendan Lee Mulligan and Matt Mercer are fucking gods to me, and I cannot deal with the thought of talking to them. There are certain people that I don't deal. My head will explode. I can't deal with it.
Yeah,
Real bad.
actually, that would be fairly amazing. I remember when they did the Kickstarter for Critical Role,
Oh,
the
Vox
animated
Machina.
Critical Role, the Vox Machina, and their high end, and I think it was like $10,000 or something. Was the go out to LA, get signed stuff from the cast, spend a dinner with them or something, and I was just like, it would be so neat, and at the same time, good God, that's a lot of money.
It is so much.
If they had put one up there for like 20 grand for like and be on an episode of Critical Role, I probably would have seen about trying to get a loan just to fund that.
Oh, that'd
Could
be
you blame
amazing
me?
for you. That'd be so good. Oh, no, not at all. That'd be amazing.
I mean, just I would totally write it off as a business expense too. My name would be plastered on Critical Role for
yeah.
even one episode. Fuck yeah.
Even if you couldn't get on Critical Role, if you can get on one of the Dimension 20, like one of the Dimension 20 games, I'd fucking take that. Like Tiny Heist is a bunch of brothers who do a podcast. It is not unbelievable that we could figure out how to get on Dimension 20, Daniel. We could team up for this.
True.
We can figure this out. Faye and Flowers was amazing. They've got more DMs now. Abria is incredible. So I think we can do this. And then proceed to just pass out as soon as I walk in the studio because I see people.
And it's you.
Yeah, I would go. I can't. That's the problem. I have a problem being starstruck. It's a real issue. I cried when I met Scott Brick.
We heard that you're very, very boisterous about talking about things.
What do you do?
Yeah. Just gonna sit here and giggle now.
Yeah.
Andy, question: was there a plot twist that surprised you when you voiced it, or do you read through the books before recording them?
I read through them before I'm recording, so
I
get surprised while I'm reading them.
Yeah, that was gonna be the follow-up. Was there a plot twist where you were just like, oh, I didn't see that?
Oh yeah, all the time. I'm pretty dense. So like I don't typically see the twist coming. Like that's not a gift of mine. So I I usually am like, what? He was dead the whole time? Like that's me. So I get caught by like countless twists in stories. I can't even think of one specifically because I'm usually right there with like the most surprised you can be.
I know there was one twist that really caught you by surprise, and it caught most people by surprise when they read the story.
Which one?
Take Two.
Oh yeah, that one. that's an example of one that I was not a big fan of, but I won't say anything about that.
About to say it was a plot twist I didn't see coming. I didn't, and I know other people who read it were like, "What?"
Mhm.
So, but I agree with you on the plot twist. So,
Yeah.
Daniel, question: is it better to leave reviews on each book, or does the series page cover it? Each book, the series page doesn't really get a whole lot of doesn't do a whole lot for traction of anything. Each book is definitely the way to go. I know that they've since lumped series together, and you can look at a whole series page, and it makes it much easier than to find the books out of a series you want to buy, especially if you own part of a series already. But it does nothing to help sell books, honestly, outside of showing people that, oh, the series has 8 books in it. The reviews on it don't really do anything. Can Kroga have snotty French accents? I mean, in theory, yes. Will it? No.
No, if Kroga has an established.
Me and Andy have
accent.
already gone back and forth on what the base sound should be, and it's for a reason. And if you think about what you know about Kroga already, you could probably piece things together and not be too terribly surprised. We're gonna Glasson sounds how it's spelled, but you'd be amazed at how many people fuck it up. I mean, Glasson sounds pretty straightforward, unless it's glass on, but I don't think it would be. I think it would be Glasson, as in, the son of glass, myself. What do you think, Andy?
There's a chance Glasson would be my guess, but there is a chance it's Glaçon if it's French, like macaron, but I don't think so. Let's see. Wait, are they still here? Lost Facts.
Sounds how it's spelled, but you'd be
We'll go
amazed
down
at
to
how it fucks up. I mean,
nailed it first try, so it's Glasson.
yeah, which would be my first stab at it. So,
yep, that's what I would read it as.
yes, I had a Gothy Desiree cosplay for Dragon Con, which was very amazing, and I do thank the ladies who did so, because it's only been like, a handful of times where I've had cosplayers. I actually had someone come as Fiala for cosplay
Ooh, that's
last
cool.
year, and as Mina.
Very
She
nice.
did the cat girls. She identifies as cat, so it made sense. Yeah, your name is a whole nother problem. Here you go, Andy.
Vaticavanich? I'm assuming it's Vaticavanich.
Because that name is in AR6.
It might be Vaticavanich, but if it's from Buldoon or if it's a German name, then I'd go Vaticavanik.
It is a Buldoon name.
Then I'd probably go Vaticavanik if I was going to have to say it, but I'd look it up to see. German names are weird. They have weird noises in them. So
that is one of my fans who got.
Oh, he got it. Paul said yes.
He was one of my fans who got a cameo, and I did get him in. But yes, that's one of the things, is how you pronounce your name might not be how it comes across in the books. Just from, oh, by the way, you're apparently now you're Amish, so let's you have to reflect that still. So
just for clarity's sake, Paul, was it ick or itch? Just because we said both of them? Oh, he's used to whatever. But would you prefer it be ick or itch? Because I can do either one. They're equal. Ick. Okay. Vaticavanik. Got it. I'll remember that now. Woo! Camera. Hello. Camera.
Wow, Andy.
Hello. There we go.
There we go. What the? You shifted and it broke.
You did. This camera has seen better times and worse times.
Let's see. I think we're almost all caught up too. Yeah, we're only like 10 minutes behind now, so we will be able to wrap up before you hit midnight, I think.
Yeah.
Andy, what did you think in Binding Words when he life-bound the whole house staff? I was like, holy shit, the MC's gonna have 20 wives.
Same. I was like, what the fuck are you doing, Sean? No! I think
Perfect,
I said that
Sean.
in stream. Yeah, I think I said in stream. Does he know what he's doing?
No, he had no
Oh,
fucking clue.
fuck, Sean. Yeah. No, I was
To be
laughing my
fair,
ass off about it.
Sean didn't know. And when he told me, I didn't think about it. I just wrote it in.
Yep.
And then it was when I started to write the next book, I went, because I read the last book before I write the next one. I got to that point reading through it, and I was like, you did. Oh.
Yep. And there was multiple conversations prior to that about how inevitably, if there is feelings between people at all, if they care for each other, it will turn into love no matter what. Like that is a thing that's going to happen unless they just hate them. So, bum.
Andy, do you think COVID boosted the audiobook industry / popularity?
It's a controversial question because to an extent I think it did, but also people weren't commuting anymore. So a lot of people saw a big drop off in sales because commutes are a big part of our life, like commutes are a big part of our industry. So when people were no longer commuting, it did boost narrators though. Holy shit. The available narrators in 2019 was something in the realm of like 20,000. If you were to go on ACX and like search available narrators, which is like not actually the number of working narrators, but we're using it as a rough estimate. It was like 20,000. I think if you go and look now, it's up around 300,000. It exploded during COVID, and we had all the narrator boards and stuff were full of people that were brand new, just coming into narration, just going, I want to do this. How do I do it? With no training or anything else because they couldn't work and yada, yada, yada. So it definitely boosted the number of narrators that are out there for sure. As far as how many books sold, I think it was a net even, in my opinion. Like across the board, it was relatively stable as far as cost goes, but it was I may have seen a tiny bit of a slight uptick, but it wasn't super notable because we lost commuters. So
Ren, if you are a polyamorous, bisexual, pagan, Scottish lass that likes Celtic mythology, I would say Binding Words.
yeah.
Easy. You'll be fine with the harem elements. You'll be fine with the fact that it's irreverent towards Christianity, and it has Celtic mythology. I mean, honestly, if you have Celtic mythology, you have to expect some things. Daniel, question: which character is your favorite that Andy voices? That's like picking a favorite child, Paul. That's not a question. Some voices that she's done that I have absolutely loved. I loved Hats. Everyone loves Sigmund.
All the shiny heads.
Um, it's just such a unique, upbeat, happy, bouncy characters. You can't not love Sigmund. But I don't have a favorite. Sigmund is just one of the ones that stands out because it's unique in that way. But I've never, let me say, I've never had a voice that Andy's done where I've been like, Andy, you shouldn't have done that. I don't have a voice I don't like from Andy. Let's go that way because that's way easier to answer. But which character do you like writing the most? That's like picking children, guys. You're not supposed to do that. I mean, with my parents, I know that it's obviously me. It's not my two sisters. I am obviously the favorite child at this point, even though I'm the middle child and was ignored for most of my life. I've given them a home. I've helped them in their waning years, so I know that I'm the favorite child now. It's not rude to say it that way. I just know that it is. If anyone could get anything made, it would be Will Wright. I'm not going to disagree. His Cradle series is phenomenal. It is hit #1 on Amazon and on Audible the same day of release, and held it for a while. I mean, that right there shows that he at least has enough draw power to at least entice people to look his way. I do not. Considering the popularity of something like Mushoku Tensei which has several poly relationships, Alpha World could definitely be an anime. I mean, yeah, but it would require once again somebody to take an interest in it, and I am not shopping my own stuff around. I'd rather write. Every moment I take not writing is another moment it takes me to get the book published. I have at least one. I have one goal every day, at least one chapter. And as long as I hit that, I do not feel like a useless, complete waste of space. And the days I don't manage that, I'm very sad.
See, your mom said, yes, he's my favorite son.
I am their only son. It's easy to be the favorite son. I'm saying favorite child.
Hey, mom knows how to play the game, okay? I can't blame
she
her for the
does.
hustle.
She does. She's the smart
Good,
one.
good.
I got my intelligence from my father. He doesn't have it anymore. I got my sense of humor from my mother. She doesn't have one anymore. Which is why whenever my mother makes a joke, we all stop and applaud because we don't expect it. AR6 question should be safe to ask. Are Commander Filion and Tudyk nods to people? Because when I read them, I could totally see them in that place. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not saying that Alan Tudyk and Nathan Fillion were like pressed into my books because I'm not going to say that. But, you know, totally not saying that. I would expect Kroga to have some kind of Middle Eastern accent, considering it's a militaristic theocracy. Really, you'd expect that. What has given you to consider that it's a militaristic theocracy? We know that they're very warlike. We know that apparently the leader of their nation is the High Priest of Krog. But I don't think I've stated that they're a militaristic theocracy. I mean, it's an inference, but I don't know if I've 100% said that, Yakban. So, Michael Scott Earl's comic audio video thing is a Patreon level. Solo Leveling anime has a trailer out. I didn't know Solo Leveling had an anime coming out, but also once again not surprising considering where it first found its legs. So, Camera says it's time for sleep. I mean, yeah, Paul, we're catching up on the last of the questions. We're almost there. As soon as we catch up, or in the next couple of minutes, because then it'll be midnight and Andy turns into a pumpkin.
I do.
She just gets gored with it.
Yeah. Midnight is Andy sit on couch and wind down until 1:30 to go to bedtime, or fall asleep on couch at 12:30 time.
or the cat eats her time. I mean,
Either one is definite options.
Yeah, I am almost there. The child that buys their parents a house is always the favorite. I mean, the way it should be. Question for both of you. Does the fact that books like Percy Jackson are getting adaptations as shows instead of movies, as well as authors having creative control, make you hopeful that we'll start getting more decent adaptations of books? I mean, I would hope so.
I would hope so too. Same.
Even, I mean, if you're going the movie route, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, especially the extended cuts, outside of like yanking Tom Bombadil out of them completely, were really, really good for staying on. The Hobbit, not so much. I didn't need the dwarf elf love story that got shoved into the Hobbit, because that really was not in the Hobbit. But meh. But for like TV series, I would like to see more on point. I would like to see more creator control. But at the same time, depending on how much money they're backing up to the door for like you staying the fuck out of it, I think would have a really big point on that. Because if Netflix comes to me and goes, hey, $1 million right now, we get full creative control of Alpha World, I'm probably signing that. Especially if it's like, yeah, 300,000, but you'll have creative control. I'm probably taking the mill, honestly. That solves a lot of other issues I got. So I would like to see things stay truer to source, especially beloved sources. But honestly, I understand where things are handed off, and I have caught up to everything. We have caught down all the way down to the end, and I don't blame you, Thule. We're all pumpkining at this point.
Pumpkining.
So, will Andy get a shot to narrate AG if you go back and pick up book 9? I mean, Andy gets. I have said it numerous times. Andy
I've
gets first
gotten
right of
offered AG
refusal.
with every one of them.
She gets first right of refusal for every book I publish. And it would depend on what I do if I picked up book 9. Would I go back to Alvin and Wives? Would I pick up their kids 20 years later? So meh, who knows? Guys, it was a 3-hour live chat. I want to thank Andy for putting up with me for 3 hours. I mean, we
It was a
normally don't
pleasure.
game this. We normally don't game this late, guys. So let's be honest. I do want to thank everyone who showed up. We had like 50 some odd people in here at one point. I think was our high point. It might have just clipped over 50, but it was amazing to have that many people here. I blame Andy because I can't pull this many people on my own. You know what? If I just get like a still of Andy and put it up on the screen and then just do like the voiceover and act like maybe I have a cold, like I'm Andy with a cold, maybe then
might work.
I'd get more people. Huh. I mean,
I
now
had a
that I
blast.
think about
Thank
it,
you for inviting me.
Andy, is there anything you'd like to publish to push yourself? Because I mean, you've had a lot of projects over this year. I mean, outside of my stuff, is there anything that you want to specifically like nudge out at people? Like maybe Azure and Peeler, which just came out, or
Yeah. You know what? It's Christmas time. Everybody enjoy time with your family, holidays of whatever sort you celebrate, or just enjoying the season and the spirits that exist in it. That is your call. Everybody have a great time. If you want, you can check out Azarin Thielen. Worked really hard on it. Really cool story. Identify with the main character. I have more stuff coming out, lots of Daniel stuff, and The Wandering Inn book 8 just came out. So check out what
you're
you want to check out.
you're recording Wandering in 9 come January when you
January.
come back off your
Mhm.
vacation. So for
Yep.
all those people who are wondering who are TWI files, you will have Andy for all of the month of January. She records that for you. And then after that, I know I have one of your slots in February. What else
Mhm.
is in that general time frame for you that's being slotted in? Do you know offhand?
Uno momento, por favor. Oh, you know what? Nothing. It's nothing I can talk about right now. Actually,
Okay. So
I
there's
just
so
I
there
was
is
gonna look at my list and I'm like, shit, none of that's confirmed. I don't want to be careful about that. So
okay. So you don't have anything in stone yet outside of AR6 for February
I
that's
have,
confirmed.
I have
Okay.
AR6 for February, and I might even have Antecedent's Legacy in February.
Okay.
If nothing changes from today, I will have Antecedent's Legacy in February too. But
Wow. Oh, we'll once again push Andy to the brink of Daniel book after Daniel book. Then apparently. Oh, thank you for plugging
oh,
her
thank
Discord
you,
server.
thank you.
I appreciate that, Holly.
It's a good
Um,
idea.
so
Yeah, it's
that is
discord.gg/Andrea Parsnow. I'm there all the time.
that is where you can find her. She is off for the rest of the
Yeah.
year, but come January she will be starting in on The Wandering Inn 9, and then other great books. Some of them even mine. I don't know how I got so lucky to convince her that my books are worth her time, but as long as she's not gonna get wise up and leave me, I guess I'll just continue to ride the gravy train of Andy.
In answer to that question, real quick, it's a month. They take about a month. I
Yeah.
record about 2 finished hours a day, so it's
You
somewhere in there.
you are slated for 3 a year, correct?
Yeah, they're 3 a year.
So you have set them out ahead of time. It's
Yeah,
January.
they're now January, May, and August. They
Oh.
scheduled them like we just basically scheduled them forward that way to give me a little bit more regularity that I can schedule around instead of kind of the changing all the time. So it's
So
January, May, and
question:
August.
how many books are currently written that you still have not that are ready for you to record, but are like they've chunked it out and you have X number of books?
22 or something like that. It's a huge number, and they're all
Okay.
the same length. Like it's an enormous number. Yeah,
Is
it's huge.
he keeping up with it? Like this year you're gonna get 3
Oh
books.
yeah,
23 you're gonna get 3 books done. Is he
there's 3
still
more.
tacking on? He's
Yeah.
still tacking on that
Yeah.
same rate.
Pirate writes at something like 30,000 words a week.
Jesus Christ.
So
Ladies and gentlemen, I want
30,000
to put this in context for you. My average month is 60,000 words. So
Yeah.
in 2 weeks, he writes what I write in a month on average.
Oh yeah, Shank says it's actually more by a lot
I'm
now.
sorry.
It used to
I'm
be
sorry.
30K.
They. I don't know if whether pirate's male or female. My default pronoun is male. So
I don't know either.
As far as we know, Pirate has never confirmed their gender. So
Yep.
I
Pirate
I
is a
always
sapien
default to
blob.
male. Yeah.
Yep.
I think they're actually a machine because fucking
Right.
god damn it, how do people
Yeah.
write that and keep it up?
Yeah, they outpace me by a great deal. So I will never catch up with them.
So
Essentially.
you have at least 3 solid books every year to look forward to until you just can't
Mhm.
anymore.
Yep.
Man, that's good. What is that?
Job
Work
security.
job security. Thank you. That
Mhm.
is great job security. And I will keep trying to keep you in 7 books a year because that is my average. I have been consistent for the last few years of 7 books a year, which is like 2 of Pirates. So we will keep you at least busy for half the year, Andy. Me and
Thank
Pirate
you.
together.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank
It's
you for
an honor
coming
to
and doing
work
this
with you.
with me. I really appreciate you taking the
Thank you
time
for
to come and do
having me.
this
This has
live
been
chat with
super
me.
fun. Thank you.
We don't get much time because your work schedule is normally packed full of things.
Yeah.
And I knew that you were going out on vacation, and I was like, I want to do something nice for the fans. So we can talk about the fact that if you recorded 5 of my damn books in the last couple of months.
It
So
worked out. It worked out.
um,
Like this seems like the right time. We've been messing around with this for what, 2 months now or 3 months now, something like that. We've been talking about doing this.
yeah, 2 months.
Yeah.
When you really when you started pushing it on my books, I'm like, okay, well, people have asked me, hey, are you ever going to get Andy on a live chat? And I'm like, okay, well, let's actually figure out what that works. And then Andy's like, you can just use, what is it, SteamYard? And, it'll push right up to your Twitch account if you let it. And I went, oh, that would be so simple.
Yeah, StreamYard.com if you need to do this kind of thing is super helpful.
So I do want to thank you all for coming. The 40 of you that are still here, you crazy, crazy people. Andy, thank you once again, not just for doing this, but for the 30-ish, 20, 30 books of mine that you've voiced over the years.
Thank
And I
you.
hope to have many more of them by the time it ends. Otherwise,
Absolutely.
enjoy your winter vacation.
Thank
I
you,
hope you
sir.
get the white Christmas that you always want.
They've been threatening us with a winter storm for 3 fucking days, and it has
For
not
nothing.
snowed yet.
Well, you
Like,
don't want it.
big
You
old
don't want it
blue
until Christmas
cloud,
anyway.
no snow.
You don't want it till next week anyway. You want it during Christmas.
It's true. I also don't want
So,
it before we have to fly because that might fuck up our flight. So
well, yeah. I mean, if you're planning on going somewhere, you really don't want a winter storm rolling
yeah,
in.
yeah, I probably shouldn't want that winter storm right now. It should
All
come
right.
later.
I wish you the best vacation and the best luck going forward with the Wandering and when you come back off of vacation, hon.
Thank you, darling. I wish you the best. Yeah, what am I talking about? We're gonna see each other next week for at least gaming. So
Yeah.
at the very minimum, gaming together.
Yep.
But everybody out there, happy holidays, happy Saturnalia, happy winter solstice, whatever your thing is.
Whatever your holiday of choice is, have
There
a
you
good one.
go.
Bye, everyone.